Okay, now everybody, welcome to True Crime and Moonshine, the video show dedicated to true crime and all of its. Wait a minute. Okay.
Right. The theme of tonight's show is going to be the drug burn theory in the Charles Manson case.
Yes,
and
right.
Is this the most plausible, true motive for the real reason that the crime at Cielo Drive happened, at least?
Yes, correct. Tonight, we are going to discuss the drug burn theory, which I personally believe, and I'd like to give my views of that first, and then Mike's going to go. Mike, we don't drink alcohol on this show. I told you that.
I got to go get me another.
What? You're not supposed to be drink. Well, I'm going to let it go this, but
yeah, you go and do your speech, Russ. Yeah.
All right. Now, as far as drug burn goes, I believe drug burn should be termed as drug burn plus other things. Here's the reason why. I reject outright helter-skelter. I'm not going to address it because it's nonsense. Helter-skelter is nonsense. It was simply the prosecution theory that Bugs used to get the people, and he knew it would get the people with a middle-aged, white, middle-class jury. That's the only reason Helter-Skelter was put together. Everybody at the ranch was dealing somehow. Like the movie said, if you got 5 cigarettes laced with LSD, you did 3 or 4, and then you had 1 left over. They said, give me a cigarette. Give me a quarter. It's done. Big deal. This one was selling joints. That one was selling roots. Go ahead. I got 1 left, but I need drugs. I need bus fare home, or I need this, or I need that. Nobody drank, it seems, at the ranch, which I'm stunned at that.
That's bullshit. They drank.
But anyway.
They would if someone bought alcohol up. I don't think it was a teetotal place. But they didn't go out their way to get drink, did they? They seemed to prefer.
No, I mean, but they drank.
Tex Watson, of all people, was the stupidest, most idiotic drug dealer.
Was the worst drug dealer in the history of mankind. Yeah,
fucking stupid. I gotta tell you.
Do we have proof of how bad of a drug dealer he was?
Yes.
Oh, there's loads of stuff he did. We're not going to go into that tonight because that's a whole nother
It's
stream.
a drug burn.
No.
Drug deal.
It's ridiculous.
Charles Watson was not cut out to be a drug dealer at all. He was absolutely useless at it.
He's an idiot. It was just a common thing of life.
I'm amazed he survived, to be honest. I'm surprised someone didn't just pop a cap in his ass, the shit that he did.
My idiot grandfather, during the asshole, was hooked up with Linda Kasabian. She is a bitch on wheels, and she nagged him. You gonna take that shit from them? You gonna really let them get away with all of that money that they stole? That's my $5,000, and I want it back. And trust me, I know what it's like to have to get $5,000-$10,000 back from a chick. It's worth it to have something. I don't want to use the word hit, but I got to go in front of these people. And that 30 seconds that you stand in front of somebody and say, I want my fucking money right now, while she's staring at you, that's the longest 30 seconds of your life. Absolutely. Mike, you're going to...
So my point, right, I hadn't finished my fucking point before you interrupted me, right? I believe it was a combination of, right, yes, they had debts they had to pay off. Yes, they were scared. So they were going to rob people to get money or drugs in order to sell for money. And this is why they did it. And I also believe there was something called mob mentality involved. And this is why the crime got so brutal. Now, what mob mentality means is if you get a bunch of people who are not really that violent normally, right, and one of them begins to behave really violently, the others look at that and go, right, now it's become socially acceptable for us all to behave like that. And so they will do something crazy in the moment because they were acting as a mob. Nothing to do with the Italian organised crime mob. This is just a word in psychology. It's called mob mentality, right? So I believe that these people just all went absolutely crazy in the moment because they saw one of their friends start to act crazy violent. So they went, right, it's now socially acceptable in this moment for us all to begin behaving crazy violent. And I also believe that yes, maybe there was an element of trying to make it look like another killer was out there so they could free Bobby Baselay. And this is why they did all the writing on the walls at all the different places, because they were trying to make it look like someone else had done the original crime, not Bobby. So yes, there is an element of to save a brother, but I believe mainly it was over drugs and drug debts and drug dealing. this happened. And mob mentality. So that's the insanity of it. You know, that's the insanity aspect of it. They all went crazy because they saw their friends going crazy. Sid is from Salisbury in the UK, I see. Oh, and Delinda's here. Hello, guys.
Oh, Delinda, our old friend Delinda.
Yeah, you won the book, didn't you? Delinda won Neil's book.
I heard about that.
On the podcast. Excellent, yeah.
I heard about that. Delinda's going to be a guest on everybody's show for the next 6 years because she won that book. Great. Now, Nancy,
we're going to interview Neil eventually. We will interview him, yeah.
Nancy, I'm wondering if there's any police.
Do you want to talk, Mike? Did you have anything to say? Do you want to say anything?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Combination of drugs, combination of free brother, combination of paranoia, combination of they don't want to be ranch anymore. Charlie's getting tired of these fucking people. We say it every damn week. It's every reason combined, except the race war.
Yes, I do not believe for a second that was. The
race war. I wasn't being mean to you. The race war is something they talked about at a campfire when they were smoking dope. That's it, y'all. That is it.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody watching. I haven't had a shot to say hello yet. Thank you for joining us.
Like Mike says, it was a strange time to be alive, wasn't it? There was a lot of racial tension. So it's not surprising that as they sat around their campfires tripping or whatever, they went, "God, it looks like there might be a race war going on." But I do not believe for a second that was the motivation for them to go and kill these people. And also, Helter Skelter suggests that they were random people that they had never met. And that's
they
rubbish.
met these people before.
They knew them. They knew the people at Cielo Drive. You know, it was not random that they went and did this. They knew those people. And there's the police did not say this in their police reports, but there's, as I'm about to show you, there's a lot of evidence that people...
Nancy, that being said, if you've read the police reports recently, what does the police report say?
Well, I'm going to go into that in a minute. And the other thing, just something that I want to state before I start reading this, because a lot of people who look at this case are really, really cynical of all the police evidence, because the police fucked it up. The first on scene police officers ruined it so badly. And people don't know enough about, if you look at true crime long enough, you begin to learn about how these things go down, how these investigations happen. And yes, the first on scene people at Cielo Drive were appalling. They were useless, right? But you have to remember the first on scene are just the ones that respond. They're like the low level cops. And they walked in and they saw, and the thing that gets me about this that makes me not have so much sympathy for them is, right, if walking in and seeing a dead actress on the ground fucked them up that bad, maybe they shouldn't have become cops that work in Hollywood, because Sharon Tate was not the first actress to ever get murdered, and she was not the last actresses get murdered. So I don't have much sympathy for those guys. I'm sorry to be honest, but if you shouldn't have become a cop in Hollywood if you don't fucking like, or around that area, around the whole of LA. Do you know what I mean? So I don't have much sympathy for them. That's why I'm so harsh with the ones who fucked up the evidence and the initial crime scene. But once those guys have been there, they then bring in the homicide detectives. And that's who writes the report, and that's who does all the main investigating in that. And you'll see they didn't fuck this investigation up as badly as people think they did. People just look at what the first on-scene officers did and dismiss everything that these guys said. But this is what made me believe drug burn initially, because I first heard of the drug burn theory from listening to Nicholas Schreck. And I thought, yeah, well, that sounds plausible, but you can't prove that, can you? And it was when I read all the FBI report and the police reports that I was like, bloody hell. There actually was a lot of evidence pointing to the fact that this was a drug-related or robbery-related crime, and that Helter Skelter was just, to cover up the fact, to save embarrassment to a lot of rich people, because this would have embarrassed people like that. Mama Cass was involved, the Beach Boys are involved. There's so many different people that would have been embarrassed by all this. You can see why a big cover-up was generated, basically. That's what it shows you.
Do you think Mama Cass discovered a body? Honest, deep down, do you think she went up there and was
I can believe that she might have turned up just because Jay Sebring was up there, or just to buy some drugs or whatever, or maybe she tried
at that time of the morning.
Yes.
Yeah, fucking hell, people buy drugs at all hours of the night, mate. Yeah, it's not like fucking 9 to 5 shop.
Like an angel, you know damn well you're high and you got money. You know where to go. It doesn't matter if it's 2:30 in the afternoon, 2:30 in the morning. You're gonna get
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Of course.
Yeah. Oh, she may have tried to phone them and couldn't get through, and so was concerned, and so she went up there to see what was wrong and saw the word pig written on the door, because she's the one that has suggested it was Pick Dawson, because she thought that it didn't say pig
Oh,
said pick.
yeah, good call. Good call.
Yeah. So I can believe that Mama Cass may have gone up there, and I will get to this in the end, right? So I'm going to get onto the PowerPoint presentation now and start reading out.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy. What does the
PowerPoint Thank you.
basically say?
Oh, it's just all the I've picked out all the evidence. Yeah, and another thing, I'm not going to be going into so much about the blood splatter evidence and all that tonight because we'll just be here forever if I do that. We've already been talking for 25 minutes.
Exactly.
And I haven't even started showing the PowerPoint presentation yet. So all I have done is I have picked out everything that seems to connect the crime to drugs or a robbery or something.
Good.
Right.
Let's see it.
Good job, Nancy.
Right. Wait a second.
Nancy, I think you have to blow it up one by one.
Yeah, I don't see the fine print on there too much.
You can expand, listeners and Mike, you can all expand your screens and listen to Nancy at the same time. So I'm going to...
Yeah, I don't expect you to be reading along with me. I'm just going to read it out. And people who are watching this on playback can pause it and blow it up on their screens or whatever. Yeah, just full screen your video.
Do it right now. I can actually blow it up right now. What's the first
If you really want to read it all along with me, but yeah, it is. Right. So the drug ban theory. The night of the crime and the police's first theory. Yeah, I'm going to go through all the different theories that the police had when they saw this crime scene, right?
Let's do it.
So, resume of the crime. On the evening of August 8th, 1969, Sharon Polanski called friends she had previously invited for the evening and stated she was not feeling well and was going to remain home with Abigail Folger, Wojtek Frykowski, two friends that had been living in our home since March 1969. She also stated that Jay Sebring, her one-time fiancé, would probably drop over later that evening. She cancelled the above invitation. Right, so I just included that because that shows that there really is a chance that they thought Sharon wasn't going to be there that night. She had arranged to go out, but she felt ill, so she didn't go out. And I just think that's particularly sad. So I wanted to point that out. Right. Now, sometime after midnight, August the 9th, 1969, an unknown suspect or suspects entered the Cielo property via the front gate, which is operated by an electronic push button that could be operated from outside the gate. From this point, there are three possible theories which have been reached after analysing the physical evidence. Now, this first theory is basically that it was hired killers. The first theory is that the killers climbed a telephone pole located just to the north of the above-described electronic button, which opens the gate to the Cielo property. The phone wire at the top of this pole had been cut in such a manner that it stopped the phone service to the Cielo property, however, did not allow the phone wire that runs from the pole to the house to fall to the ground. The killers also cut a small piece of two-strand wire which runs from the Cielo home to the telephone pole near the top and then down to where the button to the gate is located. At one time, this wire was connected to two speakers which were used for communication between the house and the gate opener. So that's like the intercom system on the gate. But this had not been in use since the Polanskis leased the property in February of 1969. So whether that even worked or not, but they cut the intercom to the gate and they cut the phone line is the essential thing to take away from that. And the one to the gate had fallen across the ground. Right, and then they entered the gate at approximately 12:30 hours, 00:30 hours, and midnight, half midnight hours, and were observed by the first victim, Stephen Parent, as he was leaving the guest house, which was occupied by houseboy William Garrettson. The killers, having been hired to kill Sharon Polanski, Jay Sebring, Wojtek Frykowski, and Abigail Folger, shot Parent 3 times as he attempted to drive his vehicle from the Cielo property. The killers continued to the main house, the Polanski residence, where they proceeded to kill the 4 intended victims. So that was the police's first theory, is that these were hired killers who had come to just kill everyone in the house, and they happened to see Stephen Parent and kill him first. Right, so that's the first thing the police thought. Then the second theory, it was essentially drug burn, right? The second theory, the killers went to the Polanski home sometime after midnight on the 8th of the 9th, 1969, to either deliver or collect for various types and amounts of narcotics, that an argument ensued either over the money or the possibility of bad drugs, and the suspect or suspects armed with a knife and gun proceeded to kill Frykowski, Folger, Sebring and Polanski. As they left the Polanski home, they were observed by the 5th victim, Stephen Parent, who was leaving William Garrettson's house. As the suspects left, they climbed the power pole and cut both the telephone wire and the communications wire, hoping that their crime would remain undetected for a long period of time in order to make good their escape. And now what I like about this is, because I've always wondered, was Stephen Parent killed first, or was he killed on the way out? Because there's a lot of evidence on his car that he was reversing and trying to get away from someone. So I wonder how much did he really see? Did he see them stabbing people to death on the lawn and all that? But he was shot, and we're supposed to think that the gun jammed. We're led to believe that the gun jammed because Tex stopped shooting at some point and started whacking Frykowski with the gun barrel. So it's always been assumed that the gun jammed. If Stephen Parent was killed last, then that means that the gun was still working because Stephen Parent was shot twice. And I've often thought that the phone wire was not actually cut as they went in, which I'll get into when I do take this psychiatric report. But I don't think that they really did bring wire cutters with them and cut the wire. I think that was done later. But all right, so it just shows you that the police believed the whole time that this was around drugs. And the third theory was it was a fight. Now, this one's a bit crazy. The third theory, the suspect or suspects went to the Polanski home to commit a residential robbery. Once at the location, a fight ensued between the suspects and the victims. The occupants of the house were all killed, and as the suspects were leaving, they observed Parent, the fifth victim, leaving the location because he was just leaving the guest house. He was not in the house. They caught Parent and shot him before he could make good his exit. The possibility also exists that Parent could have been involved in the setting up and participation of the above attempted robbery. Yeah, so this is another thing, but there's a lot of people who say was Stephen Parent involved somehow, as he did have one knife wound in the palm of his left hand, indicative of a defensive wound. And they also mentioned later in the police report, I've not shown it here, but he had a watch that was cut. So he was being slashed at so violently with the knife that they cut the strap of his watch. His fatal wounds were the result of gunshots. The killers then cut the phone wire and communication wire to make good their escape and give them more time before discovery of the crime. So that was the police's three theories. Right, and then there's all this stuff. So then, we're going to move on from this. And this is just when we're getting to how involved in drugs Frykowski and Folger were in particular. Right? So
well,
a lot of stuff.
Nancy.
Speak now before we move on to another point. Yeah.
Right there, what you said several times, the police started investigating it as a drug burn, and everybody looked at it that. Now, this is a common thing. You guys approach people every day of your life, and you know what that person is. You say to yourself, oh, my God, here comes the loser. He's always borrowing money. He's always got a problem. He's always got a depressing story, and I'm sick of it. That's your attitude because that's what you experience. Other people are winners. Other people are sports people. Other people's are pains in the ass. Nancy, what's the first thing Daniel says to you every time he gets on camera and talks to you?
Yeah.
Give me an iPad. Give me a new phone. Give me this. And so you expect it. Gee, Nancy's drinking gin. Never. Wow. Okay. So my point is, if they investigated it like that, then that means they veered away from any other possibility, like Helter Skelter or any of the others, and they completely rejected it until somebody straightened them out or put it together in another way. And another show, what we're going to do, what I do on a 6-month basis, we're going to make a list of all the incompetent mistakes the police made, which should have been dismissed at arraignment. But the police walked in with their eyes. They saw, oh, this is a drug burn. Their instinctive eyes. They this is a drug burn. So, Nancy, why don't you continue based on that?
We'll get on to this because this is what they must have found. This is what the homicide detectives are going to have found when they interviewed a lot of people. Right? During April, May, June, and the 1st of July, Frykowski and Folger had many impromptu parties. An open invitation policy existed at the house. This is Cielo Drive. Drug use was prevalent. They used hashish, marijuana, mescaline, cocaine, and MDA. William Doyle, Tom Harrigan, Pick Dawson, John DeTuro, Charles Tacott, Ben Carruthers, and Cass Elliott, Witold Kazanowski, along with several other narcotics users, were frequent visitors and partygoers at the Polanski residence. William Doyle and Tom Harrigan came to Los Angeles in January of 1969 from Toronto, Canada. Doyle arrived first via commercial airline, arriving with an estimated 2 pounds of cocaine. After his arrival, he took up residence at Cass Elliott's, 7708 Woodrow Wilson Drive, Los Angeles. Doyle and Elliott had met while Elliott was making a film in Toronto, Canada, Doyle's and Harrigan's hometown. When Doyle arrived, it was obvious to Elliott that he was high on drugs, and when he produced the 2 pounds of cocaine, Elliott told him he would have to leave. It was at this time that Harrigan arrived, and the two of them took up residence at 1459 North Rings Road, Los Angeles. From this location, Doyle and Harrigan began to solicit and make friends among various persons in the movie industry. They did this in order to make contacts for the sale of smuggled cocaine. Harrigan and Doyle, after moving to Kings Road, sold at least $6,000 worth of cocaine during their first month. Terence Cooksley, this is quite funny actually, this made me laugh. Terence Cooksley, an 18-year-old houseboy at Kings Road address, remained high for at least the month of February on cocaine supplied by Harrigan and Doyle. Sometime in March, he stole the $6,000 that Doyle and Harrigan had made. He frequented miscellaneous discotheques in the Los Angeles area and spent the money freely or gave it away in the form of large tips to various waiters. Doyle and Harrigan followed him to Stockton, California, where they knocked him around and threatened him. They told him to keep his mouth shut and then left Cooksley, returned to Los Angeles, and in mid-March, Doyle and Harrigan took Cooksley bodily from the Whiskey A Go-Go. They rode around in the Hollywood Hills with Harrigan driving, Doyle was in the back seat beating Cooksley with a hammer handle. Harrigan stated it appeared that Cooksley liked the beating and therefore they stopped. A crime report was taken. However, Cooksley gave misleading statements and information and there was no prosecution. He described Harrigan and Doyle to his father as vicious persons and probably hired killers. So yeah, that just amused me, that did. So what, this little 18-year-old lad, he was a houseboy, stole $6,000 off coke dealers and just went around the discos and spent the money.
I would have done the same thing. I'd have done the same thing. Little old redneck in the middle of the city.
Exactly.
So they get him in the car and take him out to the Hollywood Hills and start beating him with a hammer handle. And it looks like he's enjoying it. They go, "Yeah, is it working? No, he appears to be getting off on it. Oh shit, we better stop that."
That's exactly
That's
right.
good shit. Yeah. That's good shit, Nancy. That's good shit.
Yeah, I know.
That's good stuff,
Harrigan,
Nancy.
the reason I'm reading this out is because Harrigan is related to this, because he appears to be the guy that
experience, and that's why this makes sense. That the houseboy snorted it all and spent it all. I'm not proud of my behavior, but when me and my
houseboy ran off with their money,
me and my girlfriend, we pooled our resources from like 4 weeks paycheck because we wanted to buy an 8-ball. And for some stupid reason, she let me go and get it by myself. So what did I do by myself over the next course of 2 or 3 days? Before Friday night, when I take her to the Italian cafe. Now, this is a common thing, again, like writing in blood, writing in the victim's blood. It's a common thing. It's so logical.
You're breaking up.
Spot it in a minute. Helter Skelter is described. Free a brother. I'm just going to say it outright so we can move away from it. Nobody's going to fucking break anybody out of the LA County Jail. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Individual prisoners may escape, but nobody's going to walk in and take people out. The last time that happened...
Well, it wasn't that. They were trying to make it look like...
I just thought of something and I'll forget it if you don't let me speak.
Do it.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, do it.
Okay, if it wasn't Free a Brother and it was a drug burn, why didn't any of these people that are A, dead, B, still in jail, ever talk about a drug burn? What is the why hold on?
They do, right? In Helter Skelter, at the sentencing, right? It's in the fucking trial transcript.
They always stick with freeing a brother.
No, at the sentencing, one of them does, right? The bit because, right, though they were not allowed to testify in the trial at the sentencing phase, the girls, the ones who were sitting outside,
right,
I can't remember which one of them it was exactly.
Sandy,
I think
Squeaky,
it was Sandy.
Brenda.
It was Sandy. I think it was Sandy.
Right.
I haven't got the book. Stop talking over me. Right? I haven't got the book. I can't see which one it was, right? But I think it was Sandy. Sandy mentions an MDA deal at the fucking trial, right? This was mentioned all the way back. So one of the girls from the ranch actually mentions an MDA deal about a drug burn. It's been talked about right since the beginning by the girls as well.
We'll do this later in the second hour, but for the moment, Nancy, why don't you continue what you're saying?
I'm going to continue.
Yeah, continue. Hurry up.
All right.
Mike, I made notes on it, so we're going to do it again. Why no one told about drug burn? And
I'll comment more on that later. Yeah, at the end.
Okay.
When we get
exactly. I got my own theory. Very good point. Very good point.
Frykowski was interested in the known drugs on the market, right? Doyle and Harrigan became quite friendly with Frykowski and Folger. These guys who have been described as possible hired killers violent cocaine dealers, basically, these guys are. Doyle and Harrigan became quite friendly with Frykowski and Folger. This was mainly due to the fact that Frykowski was interested in the known drugs on the market, in addition to future synthetic drugs that were being made in Eastern Canada. Doyle and Harrigan told Frykowski they would obtain the new synthetic drug MDA from Canada and allow him to be one of the first to try it. This conversation or agreement apparently took place sometime in the early part of July 1969 at the Polanski home. In mid-July, Doyle left for Jamaica with Charles Tuckott, making an underground film about the effects of marijuana. Harrigan made a trip to Toronto, Canada, and brought back a supply of MDA and possibly other drugs via commercial airlines. It is known that he supplied at least a portion of this MDA to Frykowski. It is possible that Frykowski was given this drug by some other emissary 2 or 3 days prior to the murder. Kakowski was present at the Polanski home in the early part of July and overheard Doyle and Harrigan tell Frykowski, another Polish guy who's a friend of fucking Roman Polanski and Wojciech Frykowski, overheard Doyle and Harrigan tell Frykowski they were going to get him the drug known as MDA. Kakowski did not see Doyle and Harrigan after this meeting. The 1st of June 1969, Mark Fine, an active friend of Frykowski, came into the city from New York. He was due to make a movie in Hollywood the first part of July. Frykowski offered Fine a room at his Woodstock house. Fine accepted and moved in on the 1st of July. Approximately 1 week later, Frykowski learned that Sharon Polanski was coming home from Europe on the 21st of July. He and Folger intended to move back into their Woodstock house and began moving clothing into the house. Now, I've mentioned this because I found this interesting because there's a lot of sources say that Roman Polanski was insisting that Frykowski stay at the house and that Sharon was begging him to leave and all this. But this shows they actually intended to leave. They were going to leave. Abigail Folger had her own house in this Woodstock Road, right? They could have left, right? But someone asked them to stay, right? So I don't believe so much that Sharon really was begging them to stay now, begging them to leave, to be quite honest, because they could have gone. At any time. Folger had a house. They could have gone. They had started to move out, but they were asked to come back. They were asked to stay. So that's another thing that smells of bullshit in everything that people say about this case. They were not being asked to move out. They were being asked to stay. They were trying to move out, and they were asked to stay. Frykowski told Fine, right, the MDA and Harrigan and Folger. Frykowski could have left. Yeah, this is what I'm trying to say. Frykowski told Fine that we'd have to find another place to live. Fine agreed and moved from the house. Fine had agreed the latter part of July to introduce Frykowski to a director friend of his in an attempt for Frykowski to sell a story to this director. Fine arranged a meeting for Frykowski on August 6, 1969 and August 4th. Fine called Frykowski and told him of the arranged meeting. Frykowski told Fine that some of his friends were coming from Canada on August 6th and that he would have to pick them up from the airport in the afternoon. Fine stated he would arrange a meeting for some other day, and then the conversation was terminated. Fine did not see Frykowski again. So that's possibly to do with picking up guys that are smuggling MDA in from Canada, isn't it? Sharon Polanski and Folger remained at the home until Roman returned from Europe. They agreed and remained in the bedroom they'd been occupying during their absence. Right? So they were asked to stay, and there's a lot of people say Sharon didn't want him there and was begging Roman, and it was Roman that insisted they stay, not Sharon. But yeah, it just seems very strange because the reason they were being asked to stay was because they were all in this. And this is just my opinion. I have to state this, but just from looking at all these facts, I think all these people were involved in drug smuggling. To be honest, I don't. Yeah. And I can understand Sharon possibly wanting to get out of it because she was so far gone pregnant. And so maybe Sharon was asking to get out of it.
Sharon was asking that. Now, if I may, Nancy, I just want to first introduce some of our newer visitors. You see, we've grown to 60 listeners. Oh, 6. I'm sorry. Anyway, Sam Smith is here with us, and Nancy, the Paulcast, has joined us. The Paulcast.
Cool. Yeah, we will answer questions at the end. I can't see the chat all the time I'm sharing this, guys. But yeah, so we can go back and answer questions when this is done. It's nearly done.
Now, everybody was involved in drug smuggling. Why don't we put it in another perspective? When I realized how much I was spending on 6-packs on the nights that I rehearsed and played with my band, you know what I did? I said, everybody give me $5. I'm going to the beer distributor once and only once. I'm going to get 20 cases, and that's it for the night. If you think I'm running a 7-Eleven every fucking 5 minutes, you're crazy. Just like if people are getting high, they're not all involved in drug smuggling. They all put in some money and they all brought in a case of coke. What is so surprising about that?
But there's all this about Frykowski's talking to these big time, 2 pounds of cocaine dudes, not just a little bit for personal consumption. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff that they would.
You still got to go to the beer distributor to get it. Now I have another point on Fryko anyway, but I think you can continue because I made my.
Let me finish. Go ahead. So we could chat about all this randomly at the end. Yeah, right. Thursday morning, August the 7th. This is the day before the murders, I think, isn't it? Yeah, 1969. Mrs. Winifred Chapman, the housekeeper, can recall no unusual occurrences in the household. Investigating officers have established that Tom Harrigan visited the Polanski residence at about 1600 and that he had a bottle of wine with Frykowski, a short conversation with Abigail Folger, and that his visit was generally directed to Frykowski concerning a delivery of MDA in the near future. Harrigan departed at approximately 1800 hours. And something I'm going to get to in a minute as well is I'll show you this. It was in their autopsy reports. Both Folger and Frykowski had MDA in their urine when they died, which means they were coming down from it. They had taken it in the last 24 hours, basically. So I believe that this was the guy turned up and said, "Oh, well, I've got a sample for you here," and they tried the sample, and they said, "Yeah, we want more," and so this guy was going to come back and give them more. It also established that Abigail Folger made a regular visit to Dr. Flicker, her psychiatrist. I'll get to this later as well. From a conversation with Harrigan, it is believed that Jay Sebring had been at the Polanski house sometime during the day. So Jay Sebring was around at some time that all this was going on as well. All right.
Cool.
And this is the trunks. This is the famous trunks. This bit here is from the FBI report. So this is the FBI were all over these trunks as well.
Go ahead.
Right. This is the trunks arriving. Right. At 1100 hours, Chapman answered the phone and received a call from Roman Polanski. So this is on the day that the trunks arrived. The call originated from Europe because Polanski was in London, wasn't he? Polanski asked about Chapman's well-being and the general condition of the household. He asked to have his wife Sharon come to the phone. Sharon and Polanski conversed for some time. The substance of the conversation was not heard. 1 or 2 other telephone calls were received, but were routine household calls and not noted. Right, so this was on the day these trunks was arriving. Polanski had a long conversation with Sharon and no one heard what they were saying, right? And then at 1500 hours, Joe Vargas, the brother of Mr. Martinez, who's the gardener, by the way, the gardener of the house, also arrived at the address. As Vargas entered the premises, he observed Abigail Folger driving out in a yellow Camaro. About 5 minutes later, Frykowski departed in a Firebird. Whilst attending to his gardening duties, Vargas observed Sharon Polanski dressed in a bikini taking a nap in the back bedroom. He saw William Garrettson at the guest house and asked him to do some watering over the weekend as the weather was extremely hot and dry. At 15:45 hours, Martinez left the location and drove Chapman to the corner of Santa Monica Boulevard and Cannon Drive. Vargas remained at the scene and at 16:30 signed for 2 steamer trunks that were delivered. Vargas signed for the trunks as he did not wish to awaken Sharon Polanski. Right, so when these trunks arrived, Sharon was asleep, so the gardener's brother signs for them. Right, and then in the FBI report, and the name is redacted, but informant reports 2 shipments of household goods consigned from Roman Polanski and Wojtek Frykowski on board SS Shirley Likes, left Southampton August 10, last due New Orleans August 21 to 22. Next, Polanski is husband of Tate. Frykowski is another victim. Because of press reports, the shipments of narcotics involved in this case suggest Bureau furnished the above info to Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs for appropriate action. New Orleans and Los Angeles for dissemination to local authorities. And in the FBI report, there's other pages that show that they did do this. They basically they sent letters to other various drug enforcement places. So everyone was all over these trunks. What happened? What was in these trunks? And we'll never know. We'll never know. But there is rumors that there was cocaine in those trunks. That's the bloody rumor. But something was in them trunks. And Sharon Tate's blood was found on the trunks as well, wasn't it? But anyway, yeah.
That's the report that I had, and I think I submitted to you or whatever. But that report that you just had, which I believe was an FBI report, right there, exactly. That says what was taken in. Now, the reason why it was settled to me was that it was drug burn is, quite frankly, what was anybody doing? What does that report say, MDA or cocaine?
They're not saying anything about, they're just saying a shipment of narcotics.
Okay, a shipment of narcotics.
And it's just the rumors in it that there was coke in those trunks. Yeah.
Other than me on a lifelong search for Ambien so I can fucking sleep 2 nights in a row, who the fuck buys a barrel full of drugs like that for any unknown reason? If it's a pharmacist or a medical doctor or something like that, they have licenses, they have forms that are filled out, they're expecting it, so on and so forth. But what are they doing with that? Just like when they nail a politician. You make $40,000 a year. How is it that you have a mansion in 3 cities, a Mercedes-Benz, and 2 Rolls-Royce? How do you afford this? Same thing. What are they doing with that stuff? It's so simple. And then they can, trace it back to wherever it came from, and it can come up. This is what I mean by the logical, common sense things of what's going on. Now, I'm going to say a sentence briefly as well. And then, Nancy, I believe we have 15 minutes left on the first hour. As far as Fryko and Abigail, as Nancy just pointed out, Abigail was looking to leave Fryko, and everybody thought...
I'll get to this right at the end.
Exactly. He was just a hanger-on. He was a fucking loser. And Abigail, who was
a loser, big time.
Yeah. She was a rich girl.
She carried him. She paid his rent. She paid everything. Paid for all his drugs.
Stupid boyfriend, Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow, Linda Kasabian, and Tex Watson. This one and another boyfriend. That one and another boyfriend. A girl following her stupid boyfriend. What was she, 20 years old? So she broke away from the father, from her parents, who set her up with somebody from, I don't know, Maxwell House or Merrill Lynch. And she said, fuck this, I'm going with the street people because I'm down with the street people. How many people have done that? It's just no big deal. It's not surprising. And she was tired of it and sick of financing.
She was a right-on activist person as well. We'll get into this. There were civil rights placards. She's supposed to have worked at the Haight-Ashbury Clinic, and she's supposed to have done stuff for disadvantaged black youth and stuff like that. She was just a really nice woman. She was a nice woman, and a guy like Frykowski fucking took
a rich girl.
Because he was way older than her. So he was 37.
Yeah, okay. So when he's got his arm, big deal.
So even less excuse to be a total bum at that age, isn't it? It's like, fucking come on, man.
What are we talking about? He's an older man with a fucking belly. He's ugly as sin. He looks ridiculous in a bathing suit that belongs in Roman Polanski. And he's got a younger girlfriend. And she's carrying him. She's got somebody in the demi-mondaine. And he says, oh, baby, just help me this one time. Oh, baby, can I have $20 for cigarettes? Oh, baby, come on. You know I love you. You know you're going to get it back on the first round and blah, blah, blah. And she's...
And I know what it's like when you do drugs with a guy as well. It's like...
Exactly.
All you get out of it is you get to do some of the drugs as well. That's the only fun you get. You know what I mean? It's like,
part of life. It's
she put up with it because she also got to have a joint or some MDA or some coke
in
or whatever.
It was drugs. In 1929 and 1919, it was bootleg booze. What's the difference? It's all the same. Just a bunch of idiots doing what people have done for all of their lives. Okay, Nancy, why don't you complete what you can with your presentation, and let's...
Yeah, well, I just included this, because it shows, because this is the other thing that made me think that this was possibly some kind of drug burn, is that these trunks had arrived. So did the family somehow know that there was something in these trunks? Did they expect there to be a huge shipment of drugs at the property? Because they had heard something about these trunks arriving. That was just what made me think, oh, you know what I mean? That's why I've included this. Though there is no evidence that there was anything in these trunks, and we will never hear it if it was. But this is just one of the things that made me think. So something appears to have arrived that very day, and then the family turn up and do this, Right? And now this I just wanted to include because it came up in a podcast I was watching last night. But yeah, there was loads of strange sounds heard on the night of the murders. And some of them probably aren't relevant, but some of them are. But I'm going to show you all the things because people were saying that they thought people didn't hear anything. But actually, there was a ton of reports of weird sounds that night, right?
Yeah.
Report on strange sounds, gunshots, indications of violence relayed by persons who were in the hearing distance of the Polanski residence on the night of the 8th of the 8th, 69 and the morning of 8th of the 9th, 69. Right, so between 0:30 and 0100 hours. Mr. and Mrs. Seymour Cott, temporary residents of 100170 East Yellow Drive, a house located approximately 100 yards north of the Polanski house. The Cotts entertained guests at their house until approximately midnight. The guests departed and the Cotts retired between 0:30 and 0100 hours. Mrs. Cott, while in her bedroom located at the northeast corner of the house, heard what she described as 4 shots fired in close sequence. In her opinion, the shots originated east of her home. No action was taken regarding the shots at this time. At 7:30 hours on the 8th of the 9th, 69, Mr. Cott stepped out of the house and observed the phone line draped over the fence of the Polanski gate. He also noted the outside lights were on. Right, so they didn't report it at the time, but they heard gunshots at between 12:30 and 1 in the morning. Right, and then there's another one between 1 and 1:30 hours. Mr. Tim Ireland, one of 5 counsellors supervising a sleep out for 7. Yeah, this is the really big one that everyone talks about. Yeah. Mr. Tim Ireland, one of 5 counsellors supervising a sleep out for 70 male and female children at the Westlake School for Girls, located at the 700 North Ferring Road, which is down the hill and directly south of the Polanski residence. Between 1 and 1:30, Mr. Ireland was awake, alert, and watching the sleeping children. He heard a male voice from what seemed to him a long distance away to the north or northeast shout, "Oh God, no, stop, stop, oh God, no, don't." Ireland said that the scream persisted for approximately 10 seconds. The male voice was clear and he did not notice an accent. The scream so disturbed Ireland that he checked the area of the sleeping children on foot, then went outside the school and informed Mr. Rich Sparks of the occurrence and requested permission to check the area himself in his own personal vehicle. Permission was granted, and Ireland drove southbound on Benedict Canyon Road to Sunset Boulevard, westbound to Beverly Glen, and northbound back to Westlake School. He did not observe anything unusual on his circuit trip, but did hear numerous dogs barking in the immediate vicinity of the school. Mr. Ireland then checked the other counsellors at the school, but all had been sleeping and were not aware of the incident. Mr. Ireland does not recall hearing any sounds that he believes to be gunshots. In investigating officer's opinion, this is an accurate report of the incident made by a competent person, alert and in full command of his faculties. So he didn't hear gunshots, but he heard a man screaming, "Oh God, no, no, don't, please don't," right?
You think people have added stuff to this?
No, this is the police report, right?
This is the actual police report?
This is before Bugliosi got to it and got
all right. I was just double checking.
Yeah.
Right, that's a legitimate question.
Bugliosi was all over the guy that saw them hosing off in the garden, though, if you look into that.
Oh,
we'll talk about that on another stream.
Yes.
But then there's these other sounds as well, right? So this is between 2 and 3 in the morning. Mr. Emmett Steele, 9951 Beverly Grove Drive. Mr. Steele maintains 2 trained hunting dogs at his residence. These dogs do not generally respond to ordinary traffic or house noises in the vicinity, but become highly excited and bark and howl when they hear gunshots. On the 8th of the 9th, 69, between 2 and 3, both dogs became highly excited, barking and growling. Mr. Steele went out and calmed the dogs, checked the area, but could see nothing. Mr. Steele did not hear any gunshots himself, but was concerned about a lavender Volkswagen. Yeah, I don't think this one's so relevant, but I included it anyway, just because it shows lots of people were hearing shit going on that night. But was concerned about a lavender Volkswagen type June buggy, XSP 193, and a black foreign type motorcycle, possibly a Triumph. It's pretty cool as well. British bike in the area. that have seen and reported driving about the area for the past 6 weeks in the late night and early morning hours. These 2 vehicles have not been connected with the incident at this time. So that ain't so relevant, but I thought I'd include it anyway.
You know what I find very interesting about that? Yeah. That you could hear that night. First of all, somebody said a statement. I don't remember, but it was at the beginning of the Diane Sawyer interview, which I consider the best, 94 Diane Sawyer, that it was said on that hot August night that you could hear the ice clinking in the glasses of the cocktails. I don't know who said it, but I remember.
That's exaggeration.
But now, that one that we heard, no, but it is like that on a still quiet night, even when it's hot here, we get that. I know what they mean by that. I know what they mean by that.
Glass.
Now, I got to
No, they're exaggerating slightly, Mike, but I know what they mean by that. You know?
I know what you mean.
It's so quiet, you could hear anything.
Okay.
And what that is actually telling you as well is what you've got to remember is he's saying he didn't hear the gunshots, but his dogs reacted to it, and his dogs react to gunshots.
Shit bounces off those canyon mountains.
And this is much later as well. This is between 2 and 3 in the morning. because this is all supposed to have gone down between like 12 and 1 in the morning, isn't it? Yeah. And this is later, between 2 and 3. This guy's dogs that react to gunshots reacted. So that's another interesting. This next one as well is at 4 o'clock in the morning. Right, Mr. Bullington was stopped in front of 2175 Summit Ridge Drive. He was parked facing northbound with the driver's window down and heard what he believed to be 3 shots. This is at 4 o'clock in the morning. They sounded as they came from some distance from the west. The sequence was 1 shot, a 2-3 second pause, and then another shot, a 4-5 second pause, and a final shot. Mr. Bullington contacted Bel Air Patrol by radio. Mr. Carlston, 1-3, states time was 4:11 and reported this. So he reported that at the time. This was at 4 a.m. in the morning, gunshots were being heard. And then at 4:11 hours, Mr. Carlston was on duty 8th of the 9th, 69. And at 4:11 was contacted by radio by Patrolman Bullington of Bel Air Patrol, who had stopped at 2175 Summit Ridge. Officer Bullington reported to Carlton he had 3 shots spaced out. So that's just the report of what the other guy heard. Right. Oh, no, but this is the interesting bit, right? He says, I hope we don't have a murder. We just had a woman screaming call in that area. Right. So they don't tell you about the woman screaming call. But I was always surprised that no one ever heard a woman screaming, because you would think that Folger screamed. She was out in the garden.
If I may, Nancy, if you remember, whoever said, and maybe you want to go back to this quote where somebody was heard yelling, oh no, stop, please stop. Who was that?
That was a male voice. They said it's a male voice. That was a man screaming.
Okay,
yeah, well.
Okay, so he could have been dying or coming.
Yeah.
That's it.
And also, there's also a theory, because there's evidence that, because we're not getting into the blood splatter evidence tonight.
No.
Right, but there's evidence Jay Sebring was outside at some point and his blood was outside. So that could have been Jay Sebring screaming, no. And they were shooting him because he got shot once. But he only got shot once, so there wouldn't have been all those shots going off. The fact it's the 4 shots going off makes me think that was Parent.
Yep, Parent.
Nancy, I'm going to ask you to, over the next 5 minutes, I'm going to ask you to sum up, and I'd like to introduce our new guest.
We're not done yet. Right, let me move on. Is there any more sounds? Ah, yes. Now, this is the big one. This is the one that makes me think that this might be about the people that went back, right? Because there's a theory that the crime scene wasn't left like that. Someone went back and moved Tate's body and moved Sebring's body and tied them to each other. And then someone's supposed to have left the eyeglasses, maybe moved the American flag. We were debating that, but who knows? There's a few things.
I'll tell you what in a minute. I just want to introduce quickly our new friend, Boston Rotten, whoever the hell that is. Okay, so Nancy, go on. What were you saying?
Right, now this is interesting. This was at 4 a.m. in the morning, right? Carlos Gil, 9955 Beverly Grove Drive. Carlos is a Mexican national, 14 years of age. He'd been asleep, awoke at 2300 hours and began writing letters in his room. From his bedroom, located on the opposite side of Benedict Canyon, it is possible to look directly at the canyon at approximately the same elevation and view from the front of the Polanski residence. The distance is estimated as approximately at the front of the Polanski residence. Sorry, the distance is estimated as approximately quarter to half a mile. At approximately 400 hours, he heard the sound of voices arguing. He believed it was 3 or 4 persons. The argument increased in volume and became more heated. It lasted approximately 1 minute and then subsided abruptly. He indicated that, in his opinion, the sounds originated from the direction of the Polanski residence. At the time of the occurrence, he stood by the window in his lighted room and looked in that direction but could see nothing. He said that the severity of the argument so frightened him that he went immediately to bed after closing the window. Because that makes me think as well, because I've often thought, because I think that a lot of people went through that crime scene before the police got there, to be honest. I think once Mama Cass saw it, she's going to have told other people. And so other people are going to have gone up there to try and clean stuff up, try and hide evidence of drug dealing, drug smuggling.
Nancy, excuse me.
Yeah.
Do we have any visuals or pictures? A diagram, maybe?
I haven't got anything in this thing yet.
Okay.
I can't do that.
Sorry, I didn't mean.
I can ask Cielo Drive for permission to share his site and just show his site in one of these presentations one day.
Okay, I was just checking. That's all. Sorry to interrupt you.
I haven't lined up any pictures or anything. This is just a discussion one, but yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, is Russ still there? He's not.
Yes, go ahead, Nancy. I'm just.
Yeah, but no. What do you think about this, Russ? Right, because there's and I believe that someone went back there. It's heavily debated whether it was Charlie or not, but I think Charlie probably did go back there with someone. But I don't think that Charlie and the family were the only ones who would have gone up there. So what I believe this is, I believe maybe Charlie and whoever was up there moving the bodies around, then someone else turned up and said, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing here?" And they started arguing.
I agree.
I think lots of different people would have had reason to go up there and try and grab these tapes,
exactly.
the suspicious tapes, or before the cops got there. So they already
didn't get all the money either.
Killed. And so they ran up there to try and clean up some of the, try and hide some of the drugs, try and get some of the drugs, try and fucking.
Let me give you a couple of statements that I heard afterwards, and they were not testimony. They were just things that I read somewhere, and it escapes me where it is, but I hope somebody in our audience, including Rotten Tomatoes, or whoever the hell he is, recognizes this. Now, at trial, either Pat and Susan, and it probably was Pat and Susan, because Leslie was not there at Cielo, they were reputed to have whispered to each other during the trial when they showed pictures of the murder scene. They said stuff like, "That wasn't there at that time. Those trunks were in front of the door. How did they get over there? How did they get over there?" That flag
stuff got moved around a lot, didn't it? Yeah.
That flag wasn't there.
I'd love to read that, Russ. If that's true, I would love to read that.
If I can, but I know I read it. And also the glasses, which are world famous, which I can't find. It's on the LAPD evidence locker. They were on the floor, and Pat said something like, "I walked around that whole house. I didn't step on anything. Where were the glasses?" Now, another thing, as far as saying that things were moved around, what I read as well, and this was after Helter Skelter, because Bugs outright rejected people going back. I had first thought that Charlie went back with Nancy. Then for some reason, because she was a vicious bitch, I then thought for some reason that he went back with Gypsy. Gypsy wouldn't have done that because it seems that she had a good heart. So he could have gone back with Clem or somebody else who didn't give a shit and was
Clem and Bruce.
Or maybe Bruce, exactly. Somebody else who could move things around and just, destroy evidence, especially the flag, because several people said that flag was not on the couch. I'm sorry.
Krenwinkel said it. Krenwinkel said it wasn't there.
We discussed this in the group, and there is some evidence that Frykowski already had put that flag on the sofa. The sofa was actually there, but then someone else said it was displayed, but it was on a door. It was pinned on a door.
Oh,
and so maybe Patricia is right. It wasn't on the sofa. It wasn't on the sofa. It was displayed on the door for the moon landing, and they moved it. And then so someone moved it.
Good point about the moon landing, Nancy. Maybe they had some patriotic kind of
Yeah, and Sharon Tate's father was military as well, so she would have known all about things you're not meant to do with the flag, so she wouldn't have probably not allowed it to stay on the sofa in her house. But people have said that maybe to placate Frykowski, to keep Frykowski happy, because Frykowski didn't give a shit. He was Polish, wasn't he? And he probably found it funny how fetishy Americans are about their flag, so he might have put it over the back of the sofa just to wind people up. But I can't believe that Sharon would have, but who knows. But yeah, the evidence is that
you said Krenwinkel said that this was moved around, or the flag on the couch. When did Krenwinkel say that?
Oh man, Russ, I wish I could find that, man. Okay. I read that months ago, and it just came to my mind last week.
That it's probably the same interview that I'm talking about. So we'll both find it. We'll both present it next time. Now, Nancy, again, I want to confirm what I said before. The police started investigating it as a drug burn because their eyes, just walking in, said drug burn. Bugs, as bad it was, good, whatever you want to call it, he did his job in creating a crime that he could convict. No prosecutor takes a crime that they can't convict on. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. And trust me, I know this because I've spoken to people in my case. That being said, that is a separate thing that
we'll get into this in the last hour. Let me finish this up.
Please do.
Because we're nearly done.
Absolutely.
Police's final conclusion, right? So this is like what they said by the time they looked at everything. From the location of the victims, the physical evidence, which includes the various bloodstains, gun grips, the rope tied around Sebring. Yeah, because there's other stuff, where the gun grip actually was and all that. But this is the forensic stuff we can get into in another thing. Gun grips and the rope tied around Sebring's and Polanski's necks. Several theories exist as to the reason for the murder. Possible reasons for the murders are as follows. A narcotics party in which one or two of the participants freaked out and their wild frenzy killed one of the victims and then killed the remaining victims in order to protect himself against identification.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know. In my misspent youth, I've been to a few World Narcotics Party, and no one ever killed one person, then killed everyone else in order to cover up their crime. That sounds a bit
That's
far-fetched.
brutal.
Sorry, man, but yeah. Another theory is that one or two persons delivering or collecting a delivery of various types and amounts of narcotics was turned away empty-handed due to either bad narcotics or lack of cash funds, which is like a drug ban thing, isn't it? Yeah, so these people freaked out because they wouldn't give them drugs or money or whatever. There is also the possibility that the persons delivering the narcotics decided to take both the money and the narcotics after killing the victims. So yeah, that's another thing that can happen when you do drugs. You can hand over the money, take the drugs, then just kill the dealer and take the money. You know, cautionary tale, kids: don't become a drug dealer. There's no trading standards, mate. You can't. If someone rips you off on drugs, you can't just ring the drug trading standards police and say, "I'm sorry, but I gave this person $2,000 for some cocaine and he didn't deliver the goods. Can you go and press charges against them?" You know, that doesn't happen when you're a drug dealer, mate. An additional theory is that one or more of the suspects went to the Polanski home to commit a residential robbery. Their attempt was met with resistance, and after killing one person, they decided to kill all of the persons on the property in order to avoid detection.
That's a good point.
An additional theory exists that the suspect or suspects were hired killers sent there by an adversary of either one or all of the four logical victims, Folger, Frykowski, Sebring, Polanski, and that Parent was killed simply to avoid detection. So Stephen Parent saw something, and so they killed Stephen Parent. But that was the police's final conclusions. And yeah, this was stuff that I just wanted to tell you about Folger and Frykowski. Right? Abigail Ann Folger, female Caucasian, 25. 5'5", 120 pounds, hazel eyes, brown hair, resident since 1st of April. Sierra Drive. She lived at Sierra Drive. Prior to that, she lived at 2774 Woodstock Road. She is an heiress to the Folger coffee fortune and has a financial statement of somewhere in the neighbourhood of £500,000. Dollars. She has been living in a common law relationship with another of the victims, Wojtek Frykowski, for the past 2 years. Folger supported Frykowski, paying for the rent of the Woodstock address and supplying him with money for his drug habit, which included marijuana, hashish, mescaline, MDA, and cocaine. Folger also used these drugs in large quantities. So this is why she hangs around with the dude. You know, he knows where to get the drugs. She's got the money. You know, this is why she's hanging around with him.
She was into it too.
Get this. Folger saw a psychiatrist, Marvin Flicker, MD, for 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. Right, so she was going to see a shrink 5 days a week. That's how tough this guy was to live with, right? Her standing appointment was 16:30 each day. She discussed her use of drugs and disappointment with Frykowski. Dr. Flicker stated that he thought she was almost ready to leave Frykowski. She was building up enough nerve in her own mind to go it alone. This, of course, is Dr. Flicker's opinion. In the past year, Abigail had been an active participant in Negro social work. She sponsored and attended rallies in the Watts area and is reported to have been an active participant in civil rights activities in the San Francisco Bay Area. The contention is borne out by several civil rights placards found at the Cielo address. And they don't mention that she worked at the Haight-Ashbury Clinic, but I've heard this as well. She's supposed to have volunteered at the Haight-Ashbury Clinic. And this this is her toxicology report. And what this shows you is
there was stuff inside of her.
Everything was absent except for MDA. She had 2.4 milligrams of MDA in her urine. This comes from her urine.
No cocaine?
No cocaine. Yeah, she had no cocaine, no barbiturates, no
acid. You
no
can't
other
find acid in the
amphetamines.
blood, right?
They didn't test for acid in the urine, but no. But she was in MDA. She was on MDA. Everything else is absent. It's telling you that there was no barbiturates, Doridin, Soma, Phenactin, Meprobamate.
I'm blowing this up. Hold on.
Yeah, she was not on anything other than MDA. She had MDA in her urine, which suggests that it was coming out of her system. So she'd been.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Was that the first time MDA had been introduced to the United States in the Los Angeles area, or had it slowly started to kind of?
That's actually debatable because I could go into this because from my doing psychology and all that, this drug's actually been around since the 40s, and what it was originally used for is different. But it was used a lot by people like sex therapists, weirdly enough, for people that couples in the 60s. This is what it got used for a lot.
My question was, I'm sorry. My question was this the first time? Is there any kind of documentation? This is the first time that people at Cielo used this stuff?
Yes. Well, there is, because that's in the report. Okay. Yeah, because
they
told Frykowski. They told Frykowski, "Oh, we've got this new drug from Canada, and we'll let you be the first person to ever try it." They say that.
All right.
To him.
So how would Tex know? How would Tex know it was coming? Would Tex know that this stuff was coming?
Because this was a month back as well. This was a month back. If you look back at it, right, it's a month back, right? So sometime in this interim period, and it's unclear as well whether they just gave him bad drugs. So whether Tex handed over the money and he just got bad drugs, and so that's why he was pissed. That's how he got burned, or whether he handed over the money and never got the drugs. And maybe he turned up demanding his money back or the drugs. And at that time, they did not have the full amount of drugs to give him, nor the cash. And so he absolutely flipped out and killed
Makes sense. That completely makes sense.
Yeah,
I have a completely different look now.
And I'm going to go to, this is Frykowski's toxicology. He was also absent. Everything was absent except for MDA. So Folger and Frykowski were both on MDA.
Nobody else
when they died, or it was coming out of their system. They had done it in the past 48 hours, and it was coming out of their system. So these people, there we go. We're done. That's it. So now we can
bathroom
and
alcohol break.
Right.
Let's take a break, everybody.
Bathroom and alcohol break.
Okay, Mike, do your business. Do what you have
Sorry
to do.
about the screen. I've just got to stop screen sharing.
No
there we go. We're not screen sharing anymore. Bloody hell. So did that make sense to everyone?
It adds to my theory that this was a common everyday thing, and everything you said, almost every sentence that you said, this was done like that, that was done in those days, this is done that. It's like the difference between rolling a joint today and... I'm sorry I'm losing that screen, everybody. Sorry about that.
I can see people have been talking about Reeve Whitson a lot as well. Yeah, this is a whole nother stream though. This is something that I want to get into with Lynn's voice. If I can ever pin her down and get her to come on the stream with me, I would love to sit and talk to Lynn's about all this kind of stuff. Reeve Whitson, because she's the only one that's not scared to talk about the CIA sort of shit. Yeah, because but it's not nothing. This is the thing, because a lot of the CIA theories are really wacky. And it's too far out, but it's not nothing. There was something going on, and I'd like to discuss what I think was actually going on with that dude.
In this case, everything that you say in drug burn, even the cops, they wrote it out. They probably wrote that report in 15, 20 minutes because it's just so common and so.
There's there's way more in it than that as well, Russ. I literally just cherry picked it for bits that connect it to drugs. There's loads more in that report if you read the whole thing. You can get it in our files section in our group, or you can find it in numerous places. I'm sure Cello Drive have got it. There's loads and loads of places you can find that report and read the whole thing yourself.
All right.
Because I didn't go into the blood splatter evidence. I didn't go into loads of other stuff. I literally just went through and cherry picked it for stuff that connects it to drugs.
All right. Well, that being said, I'll say this. It certainly blows away on suspected, actual, and defined evidence. It blows away Helter Skelter and Free a Brother, because those two are ridiculous, but they sure sounded good to a jury.
Yeah.
That's it. They just...
And I can believe that that's part of the reason they wrote on the walls, was to try and get it to look like Bobby didn't do the original killing, because they were just... And Susan was actually, if you look into Susan Atkins, this is the other thing about this case that people need to hear, is Susan Atkins probably wasn't violent. She wasn't good at violence.
No.
So she did not really stab Sharon Tate. She didn't do any of this shit. All she did was the arts and crafts, man. That's how she made herself useful at the end. Oh, I'm going to do a finger painting over here. I'll write pig in blood on the door. You know, that was all Susan Atkins was any good for. You know what I mean? She was not.
Wait! I missed this important part. What?
Well, no, we was just saying about Susan. I was saying to everyone, this is what everyone needs to know about Susan Atkins, is because she's portrayed as the daughter of Satan herself and the one who stabbed Sharon Tate and everything. But if you look at the actual evidence, it's very probable Susan never really did stab Sharon Tate.
She did the least. She did the least.
She wasn't good at stabbing people at all. She was the least violent one of them all in reality. And all she was good for was doing the arts and crafts project at the end. She went and did a finger painting in the blood. You know, she went and wrote pig on the door for them.
Right.
That was all she could do. And at the Gary Hinman house, well, at the Hinman house, they had way more time because they weren't going to be detected, were they? So what's written on the walls in the blood in the Hinman house is more detailed and and all that.
Okay,
Yeah.
everybody, let's go to the audience right now because a couple of people are making wise ass statements and they're going to movies that has nothing to do with this.
All right, I want to see this.
Okay, now, first of all, I got to find out who's bought Boston Rotten because he just said, is Russ writing a book about this? And I'm just curious who the hell that is.
No, God, none of us are going to write books, mate. We're just commentators. We're just commentators. We commentate on everyone else's books.
How the
and
fuck do I
the
get
actual
back to
police reports.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Our angle is not trying to write a book or gain any type of notoriety or anything. We're literally just commentators. We have a true crime group. We're interested in the crime.
Folger, a druggie, I'm not buying it. Doyle, no way. This was a girl who thought it was incredibly mischievous to take a toke
Sam,
off
I just
somebody
showed
else's
you.
joint.
I just fucking showed you her toxicology report, mate.
Sorry, Sam, but she's right. She's got you beat,
I just showed you
brother.
her toxicology report. That lady did drugs. It was the 60s. Why do you find that so hard to believe that a woman might be doing drugs in the 60s? It was
Just
60s
like taking
Hollywood.
a sip, just like taking a sip in the 1930s from your boyfriend.
Exactly.
No big deal. Let me take
No.
a sip of that while my father's not looking. We used to sneak drinks from Jerry Turkin's Scotch glass. What's the big? Oh! When I was in church, if you can believe that, me and the other old.
That's an interesting question. Let's have a look at this.
We used to get there early so we could mix the sacramental
something I
wine
said.
and taste it. This is just so ridiculous.
Just because she's picked up on something I said, right? No, psychologists and psychiatrists in the 60s used to use it as a sex therapy drug, but no, that was only like kind of radical Timothy Leary type dudes who was focusing on couples counselling specifically, and if a couple couldn't relate to each other sexually, they would actually give them this MDA to take. But no, I don't believe that. No, I don't think that wasn't what I was trying to say. I do believe that this MDA came from this Harrigan dude, and they were just selling drugs. And just another point I'd like to make as well about the whole us talking about the fact these victims were on drugs. People have started to shout at me in the group, why are you slamming these people? They're dead. Why are you saying these horrible things about them? And it's like, no, I'm sorry, but I don't think that means they deserve to die in the manner that they did at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. And I think that I think that looking at this through modern eyes, hopefully society will be a bit more forgiving of them. But this had to be covered up at the time, because at the time people would have judged these people and they would have said, they deserve what they got. Then I hope that in modern times we'd look back and we'd go, actually, no, they didn't deserve to go the way they did just because they were what? They were doing some MDA in the 60s.
Hey, Sam Smith says the drug use was grossly exaggerated.
I don't think so. I think
it wasn't.
I don't know.
It wasn't, mate. There was a lot of drugs. People were on drugs in the 60s, dude.
I don't think so at all. Look, I just had dinner. I just had my pasta, and I'm going to light a cigar. I'm telling you, at that time, everybody lit up a joint after dinner because that was the best time to have it after eating. I completely reject that. Now, Sam.
Yeah, and this was
Sam is smart. I like Sam's thing here.
No, Sam is smart. I'm not knocking Sam. And I don't blame him for being cynical, and it's good to have someone that's cynical that says these things. So if our point is as merit, we should be able to convince him that it's true, shouldn't we? Yeah, and it's like that.
Sam Smith says a lot of
years. I've been on this since 2016, 2017. And I never met Sam Smith. So Sam, please.
Yeah, exactly. Punishment Pay. Yeah, very great point about this whole time as well. Because at this time we had Timothy Leary, and Terence McKenna came. And I think he did start in the 60s, didn't he, Terence McKenna? But he was going from that time. But yeah, we had all these acid gurus and that saying, it's going to change everything.
I would like to make a point that Sam Smith is going to have to answer it. And that's it. Sam Smith just said that his source said that 4 people went back to the scene of the crime. I always thought it was 2. Sam, who do you think
they did,
went
Sam?
back?
They did test for cocaine. I'm pretty sure they did test for cocaine. But it was amphetamines. Amphetamines were in the results. Actually, no. Good point, Sam. We're just going to look at this now.
Yeah.
Good point.
On scene. Okay.
That's cool.
Cody. No, he's right. He's right. Yeah, they only tested for amphetamine and methamphetamine. And another weird thing about these autopsy reports is as well, if you look at the autopsy reports for all of the victims of the Cello Drive, there's a toxicology report for everyone except for Jay Sebring. Right? They do not tell you what was in Jay Sebring's urine. So that makes me think, was they covering up something about Jay Sebring? But no, he's right. That's a good point. There's no test for cocaine. I wonder if that may just be because they didn't routinely at that time test for it. So that's not necessarily anything really, really suspicious. But no, he's right. They didn't test for cocaine. Because I thought,
I asked that, Nancy. I
had
asked you earlier about a half hour ago. Did they find any cocaine in?
Yeah, they test for all the different types of barbiturates and downers, and they test for the two different types of amphetamine. They test for MDA and codeine and morphine. So they test for opiates, amphetamines, and MDA. But presumably, if they tested for MDA, that means they were testing for psychedelics, so they would have looked for acid as well.
Can they find acid in your bloodstream? I have no idea. I've never.
Yeah, they would. They would be able to. Yeah, they'd be able to find acid.
It would make sense.
And this is in their urine as well. They weren't testing their blood. It was their urine they were testing. But yeah, no, every drug that you do goes through your whole body, is filtered through, and ends up in your bladder. And then
I'm learning a whole shitload tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you,
because I have to know all about this because of the job I do. Because I have to administer medication. And so the training that you go through when you administer medication is really heavy.
Yeah, I want to straighten Mike out on something. Mike, I know
you're in Georgia,
but the urine from a dead body is extracted, not given out naturally.
They fucking were, Sam. You're right.
Have bathrooms inside the house, not where you are. So just
I got an oak tree I piss out behind.
Well, when a body's dead, they stick a syringe in your fucking bladder and suck it out.
Well, you're dead. You don't feel it, Nancy. So
once you're dead, you're not peeing no more.
Yeah, it's not so bad. Anyway,
the corpses don't get up and give them a urine sample.
I'm the perfect representation of Georgia on this show. I tell you, I am. It's like the fucking Dukes of Hazzard.
Who the four?
The half-life of coke. Shit, that's a good question as well. That's a good question. I don't know. I would have to look that up. But I know coke comes out of your system pretty quickly. It's not detectable in your urine after 2 days, I think.
She is remarkable, the things that she asks, man. She's
because I know all this.
Okay, so
not because I've ever had to pass drug tests or anything, but yeah, no, I've heard some of this. I think coke is one that is not detectable in your urine after 48 hours, I think.
She works hard.
Coke goes through you very quickly.
I know it.
It's weed. It's THC that stays for the longest. THC is detectable for a month, but coke and heroin and all these sorts of drugs are gone within 48 hours. So this is the fact that there was still MDA in their urine shows that they had taken it within the past 48 hours. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been there.
Wow.
It would have. But I don't know the half-life of MDA either. But most of these amphetamine type drugs just go straight through your system. And coke is different to amphetamines as well. That's another thing I learned when I was doing my psychology degree. Cocaine, you would think that it is similar to an amphetamine, but it's not. It's a totally different drug. It's a stimulant, but it's not the same as amphetamines. But I happen to know, for some reason, that it's not detectable in your urine after 2 days. Coke.
Nancy, I always thought cocaine was used as something to numb the nerves, like when they used cocaine.
Novocaine. That's what they inject your gums with. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why would it be a stimulant? If anything, they would want the patient to calm down, right?
Well, no, the drug they inject into your gums, they've removed the part that gives you the high.
I see.
Do you know what I mean? They've refined it, so it's only because. Not that I've ever bought cocaine or anything, right? But when you buy cocaine to test how good it is, you rub it onto your gums. And if it is good, if it's not cut a lot, then your gums will go numb really quickly. Cocaine as a gum numbing property.
I almost tried it.
And so Novocaine that dentists use, it's like a refined type of cocaine. They've removed the molecule that makes you get high, but they've kept the molecule that makes your gums go numb. And they inject that straight into you.
Mike, what happened to you when you tried it? You won't believe.
I did. I almost tried it. I had my head right down, ready to snort that line through a little straw, and the good Lord just said, "Don't do it. Don't
my
do it."
idiot friends and me were hanging out.
Well, maybe it's because it is a very habit-forming thing, and if
I'm going to
really
do DMT
like it,
though, I'm going to try DMT.
Very Moorish that shit. Yeah.
I'll tell you all right now.
Very quickly.
I'm going to try DMT. I am going to do it.
Let me tell my story first
Sam
before
Smith.
you go into that, into your adventures. So me and my
What's the
idiot
half-life on coke? 10 minutes before. What's the more? No, that's the point I was just trying to make to you,
is
Mike.
ruining my jokes now.
Maybe this is why the forces from above told you not to try it. Yeah, because if you really like cocaine, it wears off. And he's right. He's actually right. After about 15 minutes, the high wears off.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't do it. I'm glad I didn't do it.
So then, if you want to do,
All right.
I don't look down on people who do drugs. I do not, because I've never been there before.
Because it's just recreational. People go back to their jobs the next day, and that it's only like certain people who get really heavily addicted to it, and that. And
now the joke is ruined. Okay, what I was.
But there's a lot of good people who you'd never guess use drugs.
You can't talk over her.
Okay,
she just.
That's it. I never met anybody from Piccadilly Square that could overtalk New Yorkers. Anyway, now she's quiet. Me and my idiot friends were hanging out on Kings Highway in Brooklyn. So the dentist's office. So some idiot threw a brick through.
Look at what Patty said. I'm sorry. Look what Patty said.
What?
That is so Patty right there.
Right.
That is so Anne right there.
Heavy confessions now. So when you smoke coke, right, it sticks in the back of your throat, and then like about 5 minutes later, there's this horrible bit where it runs down the back of your throat.
I love her.
It's grim.
Okay,
I hate the way it tastes.
There's a store
Smells all right.
that I know
sick,
you can get cocaine smelling candles. So we should buy a bunch of those.
Great. Yeah, that's just what this show needs.
A care package of fucking coke
That's
candles.
just what this show needs. Fucking coke candles. That's what we need, right?
Try and get a trunk to put them in. just so.
Okay,
she's
Eliza,
the best.
You really ruined my joke now, and it was a good joke, but I'll tell Mike in private just to punish you.
Yeah, tell me about it later.
Okay. Anyway, so all right, now let's go through some of the other comments here. Sam said that I heard they don't have a test for LSD, which we've gone through. What's the half-life on?
Let me get on the.
Now, they tested for phenacetin. Nancy, what is that? Phenacetin? Is that
that's amongst all the barbiturates, isn't it? I saw that. I've shut the presentation down now. I can't even look at it. But the first group of drugs they're testing for are barbiturates. That's all the barbiturates. So the downers.
I always thought
one of the downers. Yeah.
I always thought that was used just to cut cocaine, like.
Americans have different names for what we called all the downers as well.
There she goes again with the Americans, Russ. You Americans.
Yeah, you bloody Americans with your
bloody
weird
Americans.
Good.
We drinking right now? Are we drinking right now?
So World War II all over again. I've run out of tonic water anyway. Must take a
go talk to the Indians. You don't want to talk to the Americans.
Then you two can talk about me behind my back.
Are we drinking right now?
Go get my tonic water.
Are we drinking right now? All right, Ross, tell me
my headphones are off. I can't hear you as well, guys. Yeah, so you can just bitch about me.
Nancy's hair look
I wonder
pretty.
if that's the reason. Anyway, okay.
Holy Sadie hair.
All right, now I'm very interested in who went back. So I'm hoping somebody can say that right now. Where is Nancy going? Is she going? Is this the reveal?
Comb her hair to brush her long hair.
Morticia has to comb her hair.
Morticia dressed tonight.
Let me tell you my joke so I can't be interrupted. Okay, so me and my idiot friends were hanging out on Kings Highway in Brooklyn. We saw the dentist's office. So Frank throws a brick just so he could show everybody that he could do it. So he did it. So naturally, his other idiot friends go inside and see what they can find. So they come out with Novocaine. So we start to do something, and I did it. And halfway through a bottle, I said, I don't fucking feel anything. And then the Jewish kid in the group said, I can't feel my teeth. Well, it was funnier before.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. None. 0% understanding. 0% I do not comprehend that.
I understand because
it's not you know what? You and me got a problem here, son. Let me tell you something.
I'm from the North and I beat the shit out of you in 1865.
Shit. You know what? Then
problem.
Your people still pick up trash on the side of the road down here. How's that?
Meanwhile, you guys use it for throwing in the stove for more heat.
Nobody retires in the North. Aha! Nobody retires in the North.
That's why we run everything, Jethro.
Shit.
Okay, now we have no more listeners, but we did.
I gotta go take a squirt. I'll be back.
Oh, great! So you leave me alone. Okay. Now, Hahnemann has said it's almost Easter. I don't know what that means. Reeve Whitson is in Lawrence Schiller's 1971 documentary. I don't know, but anyway, narcotics is a joke. Okay, now somebody brought, maybe they didn't hear the shotguns because there might be silencers. I think everybody understands that Texas gun was the long nose bunt line, and there's no way there's going to be a silencer on that. A silencer goes on automatics or very sophisticated guns, not that 6-shooter or 8-shooter. Patty, you're on straight bourbon. There's no flavor. You ought to mix Mentos in that. That tastes good. Yeah. Sid Green. Nancy, does that name sound familiar? Sid Green.
Sid Green. Have you come over here from the podcast, Sid? I might recognise your name from the podcast chat. I don't know.
Hey, Nancy.
All right,
Hey,
yeah.
Nancy. Hi.
Hey there.
Okay.
Right.
Cheers.
I'll give you another reason. Yeah. Absolutely, everybody. Yes, let's do some cheers here. Let's take a break.
Is Patty in the room with us?
Just another thing that I wanted to mention about the toxicology reports as well that I was thinking about when I was in the bathroom.
My God.
You were thinking in the bathroom?
They did know, yeah, because I was urinating.
Oh, Lord.
Jesus.
Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nancy.
TMI.
That's it, TMI. But no, the urine, because the toxicology reports only tell you what's in their urine. It doesn't give you analysis of the liver. They didn't analyze their livers. And
Good
because
call.
of my job, I know about, right? When you're doing a toxicology report on something, the analysis of their liver tells you what they've been doing for months and months, right? So normally, if you're doing a very thorough toxicology report on a person, you analyze their liver. That tells you what they've been doing for ages. That tells you, and that can tell you exactly what time they took the drug and shit like that, you know. And it can tell you what they've been doing for months. But they never analysed any of these people's livers. They only analysed their urine. So they were only looking at what they had done in the past 48 hours. They didn't do very thorough toxicology reports on any of these people. Somebody
mentioned a good point here, and it was our new friend Sam Smith. He said after Bobby was busted, everybody forgot about him right away. His name was
bullshit.
Well, I'll tell you what I think is possible, because if I remember, when it was brought up, free a brother, it was by the women, Sandy, Leslie, maybe somebody else, and then Linda supposedly overheard them and said, "I heard every word you just said, and you got to do this and you got to do that." Now it would seem that perhaps maybe the women who slept with Bobby, they were the only ones who cared about freeing a brother.
Pardon me. Sorry, I keep burping as well.
You know what? When Charlie got back from Essalon, didn't the girls already have this planned?
Well, not exactly planned. They mentioned it to him, and Charlie was trying to politely, throw it in the garbage, because he said, okay, if you're going to try to get him out of jail, you're going to need a lawyer, and he's going to do blah, 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 and it's going to cost money. And there's no way I'm doing creepy crawls to fucking give to an attorney.
That, you know what, Russ? That's a good fucking point you make. They need that. If they wanted to get him out, where were they going to get attorney fees?
Just in another gig. Russell, enjoy this. Here you go.
Holy shit, Russell! Russell! Are you fucking kidding? With the week you've had, you just slam dunked it, man.
You're sexy like the mafia.
All the shit I get on to you about, brother, I am proud of you for that.
Really pisses off.
Nancy didn't even think of that one.
He's going to resent that. He'll make you retract it.
One of my lawyers made a 5-minute speech on a conference call.
Right, Nancy, this is Russell's show now. He just overtook you.
One of my lawyers made a 5-minute speech on a conference call, and I said, before I throw that fucking stupid point out the window, are you going to charge me for this? Are you fucking crazy? That doesn't exist. But divorce because of what? She abandoned the marital bed. I can still jerk off. What are you talking about? Go back to fucking Temple. Jesus Christ.
They didn't have a lawyer. They couldn't afford a lawyer.
Right, of course.
Did Charlie fucking say that? If you can come up with the damn documents about that, you are the fucking man for 1 hour at least.
That I know, and Patty is listening, and she knows it's true.
Patty, I will believe anything. I believe everything she says because she's smart as it gets.
Absolutely. What? So, Charlie did say to them, if you're going to get a lawyer to bust Bobby out or you get Bobby out, it's going to cost you money. And God knows we don't have any money or time to waste on that bullshit.
Nancy, why didn't we fucking think of that all these months that we've been hemming and hawing about this dog shit? Why did we never think of that?
What?
That Charlie couldn't get a lawyer. that they were going to need, that Charlie would have brought up the fact that they done needed a lawyer.
He didn't want lawyers, did he? He was a total outlaw.
No, don't give me that answer. They needed a lawyer to get him out.
Oh, no, I can believe that. I can believe that. A man who grew up
fucking like Russ. You just Russell with the point of the night.
Lawyer.
Russell with the point of the night.
If he had just listened to some legal advice, maybe he would have fared better, but he refused to because he didn't trust the establishment, and who can fucking blame him after the way he was treated?
Well, Ronald Hughes wasn't fucking establishment. He was a hippie.
It was a stupid thing for them to say.
He was an outlaw. He was like a biker mentality person. He did not believe in the actual law at all. They had their own rules.
But the girls bringing it up was
I didn't even finish the first one.
The girls bringing it up was stupid. Linda getting involved in the conversation. I don't think maybe she even knew who Bobby was. And it just occurs to me, who could tell us the truth is Diane. Is Diane coming on tonight? Does anybody know where Diane is?
I haven't seen Diane in days. She comes and goes when she wants to.
I notified everybody tonight personally. Diane and Gregorius, by the way, Nancy.
Oh, he had some kind words.
No, he's winding me up at the moment, getting on our ass, saying, "Why are you debating these silly things?"
Okay, Greg, then fucking come on the show, Greg.
Yeah,
come on the show and do better.
Come on the show and talk a load of shit and get our fucking YouTube channel taken down with you.
He promised me he was going to come on, so I don't know where he is.
I like Greg. I do. He's just.
I do. He just likes to argue.
Yeah. Well, I do too. I like to argue too.
Everyone else's groups because he just.
Linda Hayes
people
has been going to too many cancer treatments, so she's drinking. Because if you notice her last comment, she sounds like my Vietnamese girlfriend. Russ is sexy like Mafi.
For 1 hour, Panamint. And you need to get on camera. Let's bring Patty on camera.
If you want to, you can join us if you want.
Patty, come on camera, please.
Yeah, sure. You don't like your real name being said, do you? Yeah.
You are the best, Patty.
I'll send you the join link, honestly, if you want to join at this
Patty
point.
tried to PM Diane this week, which means we are the conciliators, because that is a long-standing feud, and even Patty doesn't know how it started. So that's good. We're bringing people together.
Patty knows how everything starts.
That's good. It's one time. But I'm just glad. I have left almost every Manson page that I'm on, except this one and Paul Long and yours.
You shut up. You have like 11 accounts. I thought we were going to get a break from your big mouth this week. No, I got 11 accounts, Mike. I got 11 accounts.
They're not Manson's. It's my business. ABC Concierge. ABC Mail.
Here it comes. Do it. Do it.
I've sent.
We have to have our sponsor now.
The link if she wants to join.
Oh my goodness! Is our sponsor?
And don't worry too much because
Russell has whooped your ass tonight, Nancy, with one comment. Let him have his moment. Russell, come on, do it.
You know, folks, you try to.
Oh, she can't.
Here it comes. Do it, Russ. Hurry up.
You try to connect. You make a connect.
Just send you the link on Facebook.
Linda, she says she can't even drink without chemo. So sorry. But you know how you
can't do the chemo. Oh God, so but you've been pretty.
You know how you get to chemo? Trust Russell.
You know why? Because it's the one and only connection you need. We can connect with anybody, anytime, anywhere. We've just opened.
Russ, we've got to record an advert. I'll record an advert for you. It'll be funny.
Mike,
I'm fucking cracking up right now.
I have to do another take if she's going to interrupt my commercial.
She keeps going. Let her go, man. But you stole a show tonight, brother.
That's the only thing that's not doing well in the ABC NYC world is ABC NYC male escorts. I can't get a fucking date. But anyway, for a limousine or a concierge or Manson information, by all means, www.abcnyclimo.com.
Do you own the limos, Russ, or do you have to lease them out?
It is a common practice for everybody to farm out work, especially in this very, very hard time of COVID, when everybody got rid of most of their owned vehicles. At one
so is that why, if you don't mind me asking, is that why you were trying to sell one online, one of your work vehicles? Okay, I was just wondering. I didn't know what it meant.
That's exactly right. So we're constantly trying to update it, and we're waiting for the limousine business to explode like we know it is. So when you need a limousine, please call Russell Figueredo at abcnyclimo.com. There's a chat box. Please, no nude photos from Guam or Vietnam. Thank you.
We'll record an advert that we can play at the beginning and the end of every broadcast and that. And also, I've had ideas for skits we could do, Russ. Honestly, it could be hilarious. Yeah, we could make
that
this
would
funny.
be really good, especially
if I ever, because I want to visit New York and I want you to take me in a bloody limo to see the Dakota building and shit.
If I was her tour guide, that's right. I'm trying to point out the
Empire
State Building, and then she's over talking me about Linda Kasabian. That'll be great. Okay.
I talked to you about it privately, but I had a brilliant idea for a skit that we could do.
I think that's great.
And all it would take, it would need me, and you'd have to have another male friend to play the male character, and then you walk in, and it would be so funny. Yeah, no, we could do it. There's an advert for your limo firm. It would be brilliant. So even Mike, maybe we could get Mike. We'll ship Mike into New York.
Atlanta's got the biggest airport in the world. I can fly right up there.
Yeah.
We have the biggest airport in the world.
Mike, is that a wine cooler you're drinking?
No, it's screwdrivers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've had 5 of them already out of 8. So.
Let's remember a rule on the new post from Panaman Potty. Let's remember this rule. She's world famous for it, and I want to respect it. She says,
she's staying back.
She's staying back.
I love that.
She's not getting involved in this shit.
I'm going to stay back here. 2 degrees, 20 years of education. That's what she actually said it. I'm going to stay back, yo. Okay, so,
Well, then I just have to
try to get some mulligan all the time.
A bottle of bourbon. It's going to last her for 3 or 4 days.
Don't let her fool you. She'll go through that bourbon quick.
No, I've had this for about 6 days now. The Tanqueray was on offer in the
You just got that, I thought.
No, I've had this for a few days because I don't drink every night. I only get really drunk for you guys on set. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, I'll remember that.
Brings up our next point.
I'm normally quite straight.
Nancy, what are we wearing tonight?
Yes. This is a long dress as well, so you're going to be well disappointed here. I can sew it.
I'll be disappointed. I'm the leg man here. I'll be disappointed.
I love everything you wear, Nancy. Come on,
right, they can still hear you. And I'm not going to be able to hear you while I'm doing the dress reveal. So
good.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing, Russ, right?
We can talk like we're smoking in the boys' room. Go ahead.
Locker room talk.
Yeah. Okay. And the hair is in the
There we go. There we go.
I like it.
All right, moving on over. There you go.
Flat tummy. There we go.
Whoa. Look at that hair. Look at that Sadie hair.
It's a long dress. It's a midi waist. The waist is up here.
Okay.
It goes all the way down to my ankles. Yeah,
so you're probably going to trip over that there, Nance. You're probably going to trip over that. You might want to yank that thing up so you don't trip.
The waist is up here. So it's designed to hide your lower abdomen. But I don't need to do that anymore. Yeah, this is the kind of dress that I wore when, before I lost.
You know what, Nancy? Just don't trip over how long it is. You might want to lift it up.
The neckline on it's nice. I wore this because
isn't that right, Russell?
I look like Morticia Adams with my hair.
Absolutely.
Hanging down.
Did you hear us, Russell?
I need one. A proper Morticia Adams dress would have big fluted sleeves. And her neckline was like cut right down to there, wasn't it? Yeah.
Whoa! That's like the purple dress.
And that was a body contour dress as well.
Shit,
that's all right. It wasn't a glass. It's all right. It was only the body corner.
Nancy, you look great.
Awesome.
Absolutely great. I love it. When I get to London, I'm taking you dancing.
Do it, Russ.
Right.
Make sure you do. Treat her right. Looks great. Look great, Nancy.
As Nancy said, we're going to spend the night in Joel Pugh's room, and I'm supposed to wake up the next day.
We are.
Where he died.
This is how you'll wake up in Joel Pugh's room.
Bring the Ouija board, yeah. Where do you wake up the next day, though, Russ?
My hunting knife.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Is that what? That's what you keep next to your camera?
That's what I keep next to my bed.
Doesn't that cut cans or something? Forget it.
No, buddy.
Anyway.
This cuts skin.
Oh, thank you. Oh, Delinda said she liked my dress. That's nice.
It's cut skin, Russ. Russ, you know what we do to your top down here? You don't want to know, do you?
I can just imagine. Yeah, look at him. Look at that gleam in his
I can't
eye.
show my knife collection on screen.
All of a sudden, he's talking. Oh, my God.
But no, since we're no, actually, this is going on Facebook, so I can't edit this so easily. So
you're gonna have to edit that.
Nancy,
I'll get us all. I'll get us 10-year.
No, I'm allowed. So
sentences
under
with that.
British law, right? This is the crazy thing. I'm allowed to have them in my house. The law is just if you go down the road carrying them, you're not allowed to. So I've not done anything wrong just by saying that. Yeah, I'm allowed to have.
I want to see what it looks like streaming on the Facebook page to see if there's anybody watching us. And it didn't
How many?
come up
We have 6 viewers right now, including us 3.
It says 8.
Nope, 6.
8. Well, you're only seeing YouTube, aren't you? I'm seeing Facebook as well, so there must be people watching us on Facebook.
Oh, where's Jairus? Jairus usually joins us.
Yes, he does.
He's a smart cookie.
Without a doubt. He made some really good points a couple of weeks ago.
Russell, I had a problem with somebody the other night. I should probably talk to you privately about it. Not
Good
here.
question, because I don't know. What is the Manson Coppola's Apocalypse Now link?
What?
So how is the Manson crime connected to Apocalypse Now? I mean, I'd just say acid, obviously, but there's got to be a more. If he's bothered to ask that, there must be some.
There's got to be something. I know the dialogue to Apocalypse Now, like I do The Godfather. What could it possibly be? That's a good question. That's a good trivia.
What was the best scene in Apocalypse Now? Was when they were playing.
The smell of napalm.
Oh, when he was playing. What's the bloody? What's the piece of music called?
When they played The End by the Doors and they were shooting everybody on the boat.
No, there's one. What's it called?
The Ride of the Valkyrie.
The Ride of the Valkyrie. That's it. Yeah, when he plays the Ride of the Valkyrie as they're shooting. Yeah.
Tell me if this is right. Russ.
Go ahead, Mike.
And he goes, I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Yeah.
You done, Morticia?
Yes. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
Did they have a scene where they were playing The Doors, The End, and they were shooting people off their little raft?
And they were off their tits on LSD. No, it wasn't the LSD scene. That was the really heavy LSD scene where they were just sitting around in the jungle going, whoa, shit.
No, but I thought they were playing The End when they were shooting people off the dock of the boat.
In the beginning, when Captain Kilgore was really high in the hotel room, and that's when they played The End at the beginning of the movie.
Then what song was playing when they were fucking shooting people off their little boat?
Someone who's really fucking high on drugs.
I know what you mean with the Vietnamese family, and then he took the puppy. That was
that. There was no music on that.
There was no music.
Huh.
Sam, give us the answer to that because we're all stumped, and I'm ashamed of myself because I know that movie very well.
Yeah, I know, but I do not know a direct link to the Manson case from that, other than people being off their tits on LSD and doing violent stuff.
When was that? When Kilgore was with the French family? I don't remember that. Here's Sam. There was a scene where the people on the boat are reading letters from home. Yes, one of them is reading a news clipping about the Manson. I just thought.
Was that in the movie?
Yeah, I was just thinking of that.
And Charlie should have got some money for that.
Oh right, no, I didn't know that.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, I can't remember that. It's been many years since I saw that.
I love Lawrence Fishburne. I love Lawrence Fishburne. That's one badass actor right there.
Oh, my favourite non-war movie is the Kubrick one, obviously, because I love Stanley Kubrick. It's Full Metal Jacket. He did Full Metal Jacket.
I love Full Metal Jacket. Did you watch Full Metal Jacket?
A lot of the scenes where they're in the war zone in Vietnam were actually shot down by the River Thames in London.
A jelly donut!
Then they just made a wasteland by the River Thames look like.
Rest in peace, Arlie Ermey. He was the best actor ever.
That was interesting to create a career like that. My God.
Another weird movie fact as well.
He got to be an actor while he was in the military.
Was shot really close to the area where he shot the Vietnam bits of Full Metal Jacket.
That was a great movie. The bathroom scene when the guy blew his brains out. Gomer Pyle.
Well, he shoots the fucking drill sergeant, doesn't
he? He shoots Arlie Ermey first, and then he blows his brains out.
He just suddenly goes, right, fuck you.
I already am in the world of shit.
Yeah.
Delinda Hayes said she can't drink with chemo. That's an interesting statement. I drank my way through dialysis for 2 straight fucking years.
God bless you, Delinda. That's all I got to say. God bless you.
I hope it's going well.
Delinda, God bless you.
God bless to Delinda, and we're glad that to have her, and she's very happy here as well.
Yes.
You do after she's.
Sometimes people misunderstand each other when we're all in this thing together, but I tell you, she's a good contributor.
I'm going to say, if you don't want to come on stream and talk about all the tech stuff, then fair enough. because it gets us into a bloody thing with another YouTuber and all that sort of shit, doesn't it? So don't worry about it if you don't want to come on stream and talk about it. I saw your post in the group.
Are we going to change now that we're all here? Are we going to change the name of our page so that we don't get?
Oh, I'd say just fuck it. Frankly,
just keep it the way it is, Russ. Russ.
I'm listening.
Yes, this is something we need to discuss.
Are we gonna change the name of our page or what?
Nick is getting the strikes as well. Yeah.
Nancy? Did you get that message earlier?
I saw it. And I commented on it in the group saying our group's getting the same shit. Yeah.
We're all going to be off the air
soon. I've said set up a standalone message board outside of Facebook.
We're all going to be off. We're all going to be off Facebook soon. It sucks. Well, I love this. This is my first year, and I got to tell you, I have had such a good time doing this stuff. I don't know if I know any more than April 2nd when I started, but
you don't even know that you know more.
Mystique, Manson family. Mystique is my family. Is my first place. I'm not down in your page, Russ, but they always say your first thing that you do sticks with you, and that page I love. And they changed the name on it. They changed the name to MFM. We need to do something like that. I'm telling y'all.
Well,
MDA, Sam.
Let me tell you
about the MDA. There was some kind of MDA deal.
I got to tell you the history first, and then we can make a decision based on that.
Nancy, we're on this topic. Hold on, just 1 second. I'm sorry, 1 second.
This page came out of the blue, and this is about 2-3 years ago, probably 2018. And I was very, very much in touch with Diane, like 3-4 times a day in those days when I was learning and she was teaching me. So my birthday came around, and she said, "Do you want the page?" And I said, "Oh my God, what will I do?" And she gave me a couple of tips, and I took over the page, and so we had it. Now, Diane has a unique perspective on the case. So she named it The Life of Charles M. Manson.
Okay.
Any name that I had always included that. But given
you added History True Crimes later, didn't you?
Right.
You added True Crimes to it, which could save it right there.
That's what I mean. And it could be at this point right now that it's the perfect time to change it, because Diane pretty much, is the honorary chairman. She's just rather interested in laying back and reading and contributing, and she's kind of retiring anyway. She's looking to kind of get out of this anyway. So I don't think she's going to object. And the thing is, we could do something like Spawn Ranch or something else.
Just take every reference to Manson out of it whatsoever. Just call it History's True Crimes. Just take out of the title and out of the pictures.
Nancy, what's this new site going to be like?
We get people in this page not because of its true crime element. We get people because of the Manson element.
But do we talk about anything else with
join
this?
Our group is because it's got the Manson element.
Do we talk about anything else besides this? Seriously, we go to start a topic and then it just turns into Manson because it's the greatest fucking case ever. Nothing can touch it.
No, that's the thing. There's other cases that are interesting to talk about, but the reason that all the videos on this channel so far are just about the Charles Manson case is because there's so much to.
Because there's so much to unpack. Like I messaged you earlier in the week, there's so much to unpack on it.
I said this on a stream that only went up on Facebook, so I'll say this now, right? The thing is, when you look at any other true crime case, you've got, right, this is what they did. This is the murders they committed. This is how they got caught. This is what happened to them when they were in prison. And the end. That's the 3 stages. But you look at this case, and there was so much of a big cover-up over what really happened that there's so much to pick apart that you just keep talking about this case. That's why every video so far on this channel is about the Charles Manson case. But there's loads of other cases I want to talk about. We've got people in our group that want to talk about the Moors murders. There's so many British cases of serial killers. And
I respect that. I respect that. I'm going to take a back seat and just kind of let you all.
But there's all the American serial killers, but everyone talks about them. We could do a case on. We could do a thing on.
Well, you need to honor your country and its history. I get it.
Yep. But this is the thing that gets me about this case as well, because actually the murders themselves were not that brutal, and I don't mean to fucking degrade anyone's death or say anyone's death is less important than anyone else's or whatever.
In our standards, they were brutal for Hollywood.
But no. Just look at the fucking Black Dahlia murder. That woman was sliced in half and left in 2 bits on a public verge.
Cool. Where'd that happen?
In Hollywood somewhere. Shit.
I don't know nothing about that, y'all.
You've never heard of the Black Dahlia case? She was in a
No, ma'am, I do not.
No, that is a really fucked up case. Compared to how Sharon Tate was left.
Wait a minute.
Her death looks like something from a Disney movie.
So why did Sharon, because Sharon Tate was a starlet, is that why she got so much attention?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, yeah, and the Black Dahlia woman, she hadn't become an actress yet, but she was an aspiring actress, and she got murdered, and she
got cut in half?
The dude cut her body in half, and they never caught the dude that actually did it, right? Her body was left, the torso and her legs wide apart were left next to it on a public verge. It wasn't hidden, you know what I mean? Like, so compared to what happened to this actress, Sharon Tate, that's actually quite mild, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like it's just.
It was left in front.
I feel awful for laughing, but I am.
In a field behind a bus stop.
I'm just trying to make a point about actually these murders are not as weird and fucking gruesome as people think they are, right? Compared to other murders that happened in a similar location.
Nancy, I'm going to give you this right now. I can give you this right now. Sam Smith says, and I quote, "There are too many unresolved mysteries in the Manson case." And Sam says, "Coke? No, I don't buy into the drug burn theory. That's interesting since we just crowned him the new prince."
Well, we've just told you all about the MDA. It's all to do with this bloody MDA deal and the fact that they needed money. It was about money. More than drugs even, right? They needed money because they had debts. Tex was shitting himself because he had created this situation with Bernard Crowe, and so he was being forced to resolve it, and he was being told to be a man and go out and do shit, you know what I mean? And he did.
Be a man!
And he went absolutely mental and killed everyone when he probably didn't need to. That's the bad thing about this case, you know what I mean? He probably didn't need to do.
Susan didn't do nothing.
You know what I mean? They probably could have resolved this without killing everyone in the house, but they did. And that's the shocking thing about this case. But in terms of weird murders that have gone on around Hollywood, actually, there's far weirder murders that have gone on around Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's
well, like we mentioned earlier, it was a sign of the times. A sign of the times. It was a weird for the fucking times it was going on.
It wasn't, though. It wasn't, right? It's only because it was famous people and it was in a rich part of town that this got reported. I bet there was people getting murdered over drugs all the time in LA at that point.
Well, you people over across the pond are a lot different emotionally wired about stuff than we are.
No, but it's just because you didn't get told.
Pipe here. We're over there. When somebody gets cut in half, you're like, oh, yeah, the bloody lie got cut in half. Okay, yeah. But no, yeah. So.
True crime.
But the thing is, this
true
case
crime and moonshine.
This case got so much publicity because one of the people that was murdered was Sharon Tate. That's the sad thing about this case. If one of the people that got murdered was not Sharon Tate, we probably wouldn't have heard.
They'd have been out of jail. They'd have been out of jail.
Yeah, that's it. We would have. They would probably never would have been caught if you look at the evidence, right? They didn't even They had no idea who did it.
Why is Bruce Davis out of all of them still in fucking
no
jail,
politician wants to be associated as the man who let any of them out.
Exactly. I have always had to answer that question for people. Why won't they let her out? Leslie,
Sam
because
Smith says he's firmly in the Mae Brussel, Paul
and Bobby as well.
Because California
there's no reason for Bobby to be in there.
Sam Smith believes in the CIA, MK Ultra, and all the conspiracies. That's what Smith goes on. Now, I might believe that too, but how did it end up in murder? What ended up, Mr. Smith? You can tell us what you think. Why did it end up in murder? The Manchurian Candidate ended up in the planned assassination of one person. Why did that end up in murder? And Sam says the weird thing is, after 50 years of research, we are no closer to an answer to these mysteries. Well, I think we are. I disagree. And I say drug burn all the way. Drug burn in combination.
Yeah, and I'll go into this as well. After 50 years, all the search study. Oh, no, sorry, wrong comment. Only the Tom O'Neill, the CIA, MK Ultra, and all that, right? Well, shit. Well, this is a subject for a whole other stream because I can go into I don't think.
Who's Paul Krasner and Mae?
Yeah, who's Paul Krasner? I know who Mae Brussel is. Mae Brussel is the one that Charlie managed to ring from prison and went on a radio show, isn't it? That's Mae Brussel.
Is that Pincushion?
Yes, Mae Brussel.
During the trial, I think, wasn't it? Didn't he? Yeah, that's another fucking reason that.
Who's Pincushion?
But he managed to ring from a prison payphone and go on this woman's show, didn't he? Yeah.
Mae Brussel had a radio show and she first introduced all the theories, which
all the different. This is some kind of conspiracy. Yes, and there's something at the end of the FBI report I need to show you that contributes to all this shit as well. Yeah.
Paul Krasner, I don't exactly know his work. However, Tom O'Neill,
Paul Krasner's a journalist.
Well known for the last chapter.
Can't hear you. Move forward.
Is well known for the last chapter of his book, which completely goes MK Ultra. And Mr. Smith, I'll give it to you.
Not really.
Paul Krasner is a journalist, so everybody can just Google that and read what he said about the Manson case. But
this is too deep for me.
Tom O'Neill going into MK Ultra, I'll even give you MK Ultra for the moment. So why did it end up in mass murder? MK Ultra is to make good soldiers, not good murderers.
No, it was, Russ. It was the point. Another big point of the MK Ultra thing was to make a man who wouldn't ordinarily do something that he found morally reprehensible do it. Right? So that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to fuck men up to the point that they would do something that they would normally find morally reprehensible.
And how do they gain from that?
Because they had found... No, listen to this. I'll explain to you what it was about. Right? Because they found in... I think it was in Vietnam and also other world wars, right? Men don't like killing each other. Right? Soldiers, when you conscript soldiers, when you got conscription, so you're not recruiting people and picking specific people, so you've just got conscription, so you've just got everyone has to go and fight, right? They found that normal men don't like killing each other, even if it's the enemy, right? Even if you're pointing a gun at the enemy and you've got to shoot the enemy, men would deliberately aim high, so they weren't killing the person and shit like that, so they weren't hitting the target, and right, human beings, right, normally don't like killing each other for whatever reason. And so if you've got a big world war where there's conscription, so there's lots of people who aren't career soldiers, just people that have been forced to go and do it for whatever reason, they don't like killing each other. So MK Ultra, they were trying to find a way to make men who don't normally like killing each other get really violent and kill each other. And this is why they were giving people the LSD. But LSD was a dead end, right? They found that really didn't make people kill each other. And what this A. Smith guy found, he's not mentioned A. Smith. So A. Smith was the fucking psychologist that worked under Jolyon West. We haven't mentioned Jolyon West as well. The whole MK Ultra thing. We've got to go into a whole fucking stream about this and how this is connected to MK Ultra. And it is very vicariously connected. I don't believe there was an MK Ultra connection to this specific case. But A. Smith, the A. Smith dude, was a psychologist who worked under Jolyon West. He was the psychiatrist, head of psychiatry at UCLA University at the time. And A. Smith worked at the Haight-Ashbury Clinic, and he was Charles Manson's probation officer. That's how this is linked. So he was constantly talking to Charles Manson throughout all of this. But A. Smith, one of the studies that he did that comes up in the book Chaos is about amphetamines and violence, right? And if you watch the situation with Haight-Ashbury, if you're interested in sociology and you see you want to know what happened at Haight-Ashbury, Haight-Ashbury went downhill when the bikers all brought in speed. Right, and the reason for this is, right, speed causes aggression in people. It causes you, speed and cocaine type drugs cause you to overproduce different types of adrenaline in your brain. And there's a specific one called noradrenaline that makes you aggressive, is associated with aggressive behavior. So there's evidence that when they were doing MK Ultra, yes, they did experiment with LSD, but then they started looking at speed, because speed is the one that makes you really go violent. And cocaine as well causes noradrenaline surges.
Cocaine.
So, like, if you're trying to make people get violent, LSD doesn't stimulate those parts of the brain. Yeah, it fucks you up, so you don't know what you're doing. So, like, if they were trying to make soldiers, and there's a lot of evidence that in Vietnam, because you know the Vietnam War, everyone knows this. This ain't a conspiracy theory anymore. The Vietnam War dragged on way longer than it needed to.
What year did it leave? What year was it over? 73?
Made it drag on much longer than it did.
Russ, what year was 9 over with? 73?
I'd say it was 73 to 75. 75 when the last helicopter fell off the ship.
Okay.
And a lot of the time that they were there, it's because they were doing experiments. This is what I believe. And this can kind of vicariously be backed up with evidence. But they were experimenting on those soldiers. And there's evidence that they were being given LSD and shit. But I believe they were combining LSD to fuck people up so they didn't know what they were doing. Then they were pumping them for the speed and shit like that as well in order to make them aggressive. And there's just and the other weird thing that connects this to that is, what was Tex and Susan doing the day they went and did the Cielo Drive thing? methamphetamines. Woo! You know, they were off their tits on speed, and Tex had been doing speed for a long time. If you read his psychiatry report, which I will show you all this. Right, he tells one of his psychiatrists that he was being deprived of sleep while he was at the ranch because they wanted him to work on the dune buggies all the time, right? Because Charles Watson was a fucking mechanic. His dad had a garage back at home. So when they were chopping all these cars and trying to turn different cars into dune buggies and that, Tex was the one who knew what to do with the cars. So they were making him work on cars. And so this is why he was doing all the speed, because they were making him stay up all night. And he's saying every time I fell asleep, one of the girls would come and wake me up after a couple of hours and go, Tex, you got to go and work on this dune buggy. Because they loved riding around in their dune buggies in the desert, didn't they? And when we get to talk to Neil brings this up in his book as well. He says, well, these dune buggies, the fleet of dune buggies, seems to me like some kind of drug running thing. Right? They used the dune buggies to drive out into the desert to meet people to pick up shipments.
It's hard to imagine, but the way that Patty describes the desert, and she is a desert queen, she knows all about it. It's so much hard terrain, and how they fucking got them little dune buggies through Goler Wash and all that crap.
Well, that's the thing as well.
Yeah, that's what interests me, is that kind of stuff. What the family would do, you know.
I'll tell you why. I'll give you an interesting way to look at it. You do what you have to do based upon the circumstances that you're in. For example, Clyde Barrow of Bonnie and Clyde fame. He was well known because he only stole Ford V8s. Why? Because in 1932 and 33, a Ford V8 was the only car that could go from 0 to 60 in like a minute or two. And the police were basically using, farm vehicles to catch criminals. So Clyde Barrow was so fast, and this motherfucker could drive like 10 hours in a row. He was known as one of the greatest drivers in history, and they said if race car driving existed in those days like it does today, he would have been the Dale Earnhardt of his day. That's what he said. How did he do that on dirt roads and mud and this and that? Why? Because he had to do what he had to do. I once drove a semi with no power steering. Why? Because I had to do what I had to do. Charlie got the bus through Goler Wash. Have you ever seen Goler Wash?
No, but I'm going to. It's on my bucket list.
Okay. There's no pavement on Goler Wash. It is a dried out river, which means one wheel was on one side, the other wheel was on the other side, and it was like 3 feet below them. But he did it because that's what he was doing. Everybody else got to be good. I tell you now, at 9 a.m. in the morning or 10 a.m. in the morning, I wake up on the beach. Somebody puts a dune buggy in front of me. I'll be a little bit weird in the beginning, but by lunchtime, I'll be fucking rocking and rolling. And
let's say something about this, what Sam's just said here, about the speed, right? Because this is a heavily debated point as well, because Charlie is supposed to have not liked speed and is supposed to have banned it from the ranch, right? But I don't hold any of this shit. I don't hold any of this shit with Charlie was really in control of what was going on at the ranch, to be quite honest. I think Charlie had way less control than people think. And also, if you look at Texas psychiatric report, there's just so much to suggest that actually, no, Charlie was allowing them to do speed. There was speed at the ranch. And everyone puts way too much stock in the fact that Charlie was in charge, mate. Charles was not in charge. These guys were fucking running riot, right? Charlie did not have control over anyone.
Well, I think people deferred to Charlie. Let's put it that way, because they were looking for a god.
They kissed his ass. They made him think he was in charge. All the girls probably did run around after him. Get on, Charlie. Yeah, we love you. And they made love to him anytime he fucking wanted to or whatever. That's it. Yeah.
Do that imitation.
But no, I don't think Charles was in charge at all, mate. No.
I wonder who would say that the most.
Do that imitation again, please.
No.
Talk like one of them girls again.
He was not their leader. He was just a fucking...
All right, Charlie was doing it too, as Sam says now. Now, I don't remember this, but Sam pointed out that there was a Green Beret at Spawn. I don't remember a well-known Green Beret. The only Vietnam vet that I knew was TJ.
You know what I learned about Spawn tonight?
Go ahead.
Earlier, they had a dance club.
It was just Helter Skelter.
No,
Helter
they had a
Skelter,
dance
that's
club. They
fucking-
put Brenda McCann set up lights and a disco, and they would charge people 50 cents to get in.
Then the
and they would
Helter
play
Skelter was
music
written
and
on
they
the
would
door.
dance.
Yeah, we've all had this.
What are you talking about? This Helter
No, no.
fucking Skelter has nothing to do with that.
It does, Mike. It
This
does.
is not
No,
about the case. I'm talking about their
no, the
social
bit you're
life.
talking about, though, the place you're talking about, the
Sun
dance
Ranch.
club was called Helter Skelter. It was written on the door. There's pictures of it.
Okay, but the point I'm trying to
Yeah,
make is they had a dance club. I did not know that. Brenda McCann would put all the
So
lights
they had a
up,
club.
and
They
they
had a club with the lights up.
outsiders would come in and they would dance. And the straight
Yeah.
Satans would start drinking beer, and the girls would take the beer bottles and smash them because Charlie didn't like alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
How about
He
that? I
talks
learned
about
that from a
drinking whiskey
reliable
with his
source.
uncle when he was a child.
But
He
what
called
does
his
that
gut
door,
whiskey.
Nancy? What does that door have to do with the club? I don't know. I'm asking you.
The name of
It was
club
written on the door. They called the club Helter Skelter.
They
This is
called
where
it
The dance club they did?
on the
Yeah,
door.
it
Oh, I
was,
just
it was
thought that was
written
a
on the door.
bedroom
It was
door or
painted on the door.
something.
Helter Skelter.
Oh, I thought that. Well, that got painted afterwards.
No, it didn't. It didn't.
Oh.
No, because they did listen to the White Album. That's the hilarious thing about
Well,
this
they
case
played
to me,
dance
but-
music. They didn't fucking. How do you dance to the
Leslie
White Album?
pointed out in her police interrogation.
Sexy
that
Sadie, that's a
on-
fucking good song. So there's fucking evidence. She
You know
danced.
what?
That's
Let
why
me
they
tell
named
you
her
something
Sexy
about
Sadie.
that fucking song is stupid.
That's
As much as I
why they
love
named her
her,
Sexy Sadie, because she
is-
got up, Susan got up and started dancing to
I
Sexy
know
Sadie, and they
that,
said that's
but-
your song. Yeah. And they
you
called
know,
her
as
Sexy
much
Sadie.
as I love that woman, kinda, that song is stupid.
It
That
is.
song
It's a
is so
stupid song. Yeah.
stupid. It's so
Yeah.
dumb. It's the worst one on the album.
It's lame.
She made that up herself because that's the way she was.
It's
Charlie
lame.
didn't give her that
They all
fucking
said
name.
it. They all said it.
I just
Yeah.
want to.
No, but Charlie didn't give anyone the name. They all just had fake names so they could evade the police. That's the other thing about this.
Susan had more.
Stop.
Susan had more than names than Sadie Mae Glutz.
Yeah, he
I
they say, he brainwashed them by giving them all a new name and making them lose their identity. The real reason they all had fake names was just so when they got arrested, they could give a fake name.
I just
Because
want
a lot of them were
I'm
on
getting pretty
probation
drunk
and
here.
shit, weren't they? So they were trying to evade the police.
Can
That's
I
why
just
they
say
had
I
fake
love
names.
a
Okay,
gay woman?
one
I'm
point.
drunk.
In Leslie's police interview, it's recorded, it's right there. She said on the door was written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all good children.
You wouldn't go to heaven.
Right. Now, Leslie pointed that out, and I never gave a shit about the door.
Country
When I
Sue drew that on that door.
Okay, right. So when I saw that, I said, shit, it's real. Mike, this was the nightclub / bar / discotheque.
Okay. Sorry, Nancy.
Where it starts.
Sorry, Nancy. You were.
Now this is
you
where it
were
all
right.
starts to tie
You
into
were
the
right.
Paul is dead theory as well, which is another fucking rabbit hole. I've got to start a new channel just so I can talk about these crazy conspiracy theories.
Sam
But
Smith
the other
just
thing
made a
that
good point.
fascinates me about the Charles Manson case is this all ties in with the Paul is dead theory from the Beatles as well.
Sam Smith just made a very interesting point. He said one of the mysteries is why Tex and the others were never drafted. I don't think it's a mystery. You at that time you had a choice of being drafted or go to college.
He had no address. Yeah, and he had
good
gone to
question.
college.
Good
So
question.
Tex was
He
in
had gone to
college.
college.
The other guys were in college or school or whatever. And if Steve Grogan can fool the police and a judge into thinking he's retarded, he definitely can fool, Army doctors. So it's no big deal. Country Sue. I want to talk about her.
I do
Who
too.
was
She's
she?
hot.
What did she
She's
do?
hot. She's
Really?
hot. Yes, she's pretty. She's my third favorite.
Country Sue Bartell. What is she about? What's her importance? Was she? Just
I always thought that she came after the murders, but she was at that picture with her and Tex, with Tex's arm around her, was a mystery to me because I thought that she didn't come around after the trial, like while the trial was going on. Evidently, according to Diane Jackson, the authority, she came around early and then left and come back.
There's so few pictures of Tex before his trial as well. I want to see more pictures of Tex around the ranch, just doing shit. They don't show any pictures of him.
Here's a $1 million question.
Fucking very few from before the murders of Tex.
What's the question, Mike?
Who was the official family photographer? They got so many fucking pictures that Life magazine did not take. Somebody had to have been the family photographer. And Lynn Fromey probably knows, but she'll never tell.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Like the ones of Atkins.
But
and
they
that
didn't
surfer
have
dude.
a family photographer, man. There was just people with cameras turned up and took pictures of them.
Oh, really?
And there was some
just
photo
that simple,
shoots
right?
to promote their band.
Just that simple, right? Just
they
that
had
simple.
the Family Jams band, right? So there was some promotional photography things for that fucking band.
So you don't think that the family had a photographer?
No.
Then why did Lynn Fromey sit around and fucking write in a journal every day? And you don't think they had a photographer? Really?
Okay, wait a minute.
Come on, y'all.
Photographer, Mike. Wait a minute. Listen.
No, one of the family members took pictures of themselves.
No, everybody did. Listen to me. You're going to remember this.
I've just told you, people came up to take pictures of them for the Family Jams to promote the band.
Mike,
that's the only reason any professional photographer would have gone up to take photos of them.
Do you remember when we were kids that everybody and his mother had a camera? You bought a roll of film for like $2 and you bought the flash bulbs in a pack, like a pack of gum. And then you put it on, you took 4 pictures, and then you took the flash bulb off. And it rolled around and rolled around. And there were 36 pictures in a roll of film. Everybody and his mother had a camera. It was no big deal.
So again, my question: do you think one of the family members
as well, because the movie making equipment as well? Right, we'll carry on. Mike.
He's right about that. Mike Deasy.
What did he say?
But it wasn't that easy.
Do you think one of the family members had a camera themselves, like Brenda, like Squeaky?
Of course they did.
Yes.
They all would have had fucking cameras. Everyone
point I was
did.
trying to make.
Especially chicks.
That doesn't mean they had an official photographer. That just means they had
that's
cameras.
Just the way I called it.
And they would have had to take them somewhere to get developed. And the stolen movie making equipment.
Really? You are a genius.
Right? And the stolen movie making equipment, right?
That's a good story, Nancy. That's a good story right there.
No, but back in them days, making movies was not like it is now, right? They would have had reels of tape. And they would have had to have enhanced editing equipment in order to edit shit together.
16 millimeter.
And they'd have had to have a darkroom and all that. So this is why I don't believe there were these snuff movies and this sort of shit. Because at the Spahn Ranch, there's no way they may have had the stolen movie making equipment, but they wouldn't have been able to use it. Not in them days. Not in them days,
there was supposed to be a movie.
They would have had reels that ran for about an hour. I think it was about an hour on an average reel that you had, so they could have filmed for an hour. And then they would have to be able to take it out the camera in a dark room and edit it. And they know there's just no way. So I don't believe that. Yeah, they may have had some stolen movie making equipment, but they would not have known how to use it. It was really complicated, and they would not have had an editing room.
Do you know the Mike Deasy story, Russ?
No,
you know the Mike
wasn't like that.
Tell it. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike Deasy came out that Charlie had an agreement with somebody that they were going to film a fucking movie. I don't know if it was right after the after the murders, before.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, and then this guy came on the fucking ranch on site with 2 of his people, and they got so stoned on LSD they couldn't film shit. So Gypsy and somebody else rolled the fucking cameras. They rolled the cameras down the hill, and Charlie beat the fucking tar out of them.
Yeah.
So the filmmaker got so fucked up on acid, that they couldn't film. Imagine if that film came out. What we would see. Hendrickson did the best.
They probably got ruined. They probably got ruined because they took the reels out the camera because they didn't know what they were doing. Right. That's the thing. That footage probably all got destroyed.
That's why I always back up.
That's why Charlie beat the shit out of them, because they ruined the footage by fucking the cameras. Right? You can't. Right, the way films were done then, right? It was because I fucking studied cinematography and all this shit when they used to use reels. And there's just like shooting off reels, like how when Roman Polanski would have been doing it back then. It was very, very complicated, and they couldn't. If it's not like it is now, where you've got a digital file and a computer, and you just sit and fucking take the digital file off.
We know that it was different in 1970 and 69.
It was very, very heavy. No, there's no way that the family could have been filming themselves and editing shit together.
Michael,
they wouldn't have had the technology to do it. They
I still have to this day that were converted to video. Now I got to convert it to CD. I have family films from the late 40s, 50s, 60s, and early 70s. Just home movies
on 8mm.
Yeah, something like that.
8mm and 16mm.
They were home movie cameras, so they could have possibly had an 8mm.
I love that old movie stuff, man. I love the old stuff.
One camera we had, I'll never forget it, because me and my friends played with it like it was a secret spy camera, and you just wound it up, and then you clicked it, and you went like that, and you filmed. And then when it ran out of steam,
you get like 5 minutes at a time or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was how easy it was just to buy film and pop it in like a video camera used to be before a phone became the thing of today.
Sam Smith, read what he said.
Sam said,
apparently the word snuff film arose out of the Manson story via Ed Sanders, and I can kind of debunk that because
what does that mean?
A snuff film is a film where someone actually gets murdered. It's not staged. It's a film where someone you see someone being murdered, isn't it?
It's a porno film. And at the
all right, here's a theory.
Snuff means that someone gets murdered, doesn't it? And snuff is a British slang term for killing someone.
Nancy,
so I think that's where snuff film came from. It didn't come from Ed Sanders.
In the United States, the term snuff film means a porno film where at the height of climax the girl is shot.
Dies.
There he goes.
Someone gets killed, yes.
We were waiting for this, Russ.
Well, not that specific either. No, just the person dies for whatever reason.
Imagine if they went to kill somebody
film
nowadays.
It's just a film where someone gets murdered and is actually murdered. It's not staged.
Yeah. Imagine if they went to kill somebody. These.
I'm listening. Yeah, just carry on.
Okay. Anyway, that's what the word snuff film means in any police American cop drama. And so Patty says Manson coined it, and she's saying OEOEO. Okay, I don't know what that means, but anyway, yeah, that's what snuff film.
OEOEO.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's see that.
No, but snuff film specifically means it's a film where you see someone actually get murdered.
Okay, that's my point I'm trying to make. If this was 2020, 21, and they went to do this shit, if the internet was back around then, they would have filmed. They were so fucked up, they would have filmed what they were doing.
Yeah.
They would have.
Right.
Okay, that's my only point.
Okay, so
because you just didn't back then. It wasn't that age. You're not in the age like we are.
No shit. Really?
Yeah.
In 1969, at that point, they could have been filming 2 hours worth of footage, and it all could have been like blank or blurry or, with somebody's hand in front of it. These people, again, were stupid. Everybody gives criminals the credit for being smart. And they're not.
Yeah, they were dumb. I will say that. They were all dumb.
I'll give that to Mike. If they had somebody who knew that what was going on, the guy would keep the camera on 24/7 just to catch a last-minute orgy.
I was just wondering who took all these pictures before Life magazine came there. That's all I asked.
You've also got to remember, Michael, they were Charlie was pimping out these girls. Right? And so they would have had brochure pictures as well. A lot of these pictures of them all topless and that, which I don't like being shared in our group and all that sort of shit,
No, we can't share
and it's because I don't like those pictures because I know what they fucking were. Right? Those were the brochures for Charlie saying, well, I've got this girl. She's this age. She does this, this, and this. There's this girl. She's this age. She does this, this, and this.
Hey, all the Charlie lovers won't like you after that.
That's it. I don't like that. Because that's
all the Charlie supporters.
Those are the brochure pictures of the girls. So
all the Charlie supporters will bash that. Oh, Charlie would never
fuck the Charlie supporters, mate. I know.
They're so fucking ridiculous. Yeah. They are.
I don't know why everybody gives Charlie the credit of being some hidden genius.
I know.
Yeah, that's it. And some kind of guy who loved these girls and looked after them. He didn't. He was their pimp.
No fucking way he loved them. No way.
No, he wasn't capable of it.
Let me retract.
He's a psychopath. He wasn't capable of it. You have to be able to have empathy to love someone. He had no empathy.
In his defense, he never had a true family. This was the closest thing he ever had.
Yeah.
And maybe he did learn from reading a book that fucking fuckwad Jeff Gwynne talks about in Epic series. What's that book he read early in his career in jail? In his early jail years, I don't know what it was.
How to win people's friends and
whatever it was.
To make friends and influence people.
Yeah. Charlie Manson was a master manipulator, but I do believe he had a heart. I do believe he had a heart. I do.
Depends what you mean by that, because that's an obscure statement, isn't it?
I do believe he cared at first for those girls. I do. I will say it right on camera.
You have to be able to have empathy to care for another person.
Yes, Gypsy said, you know what? At the end of Epic, she said, it all went bad when he started his paranoia. It was all love before that.
Yep, that's it.
Boom.
And that's when his schizophrenia started, but no one wants to admit that he had
you are the mental health consultant here. I'm not. Okay. So I'm not going to argue with you.
I agree that he had a heart. If you remember some of the conversations that he described in his interviews, if you remember when he first got out into...
He was a psycho.
Yeah.
Okay. When he first got out into hate...
Yes, Patty.
And he went into the, into the community, and the people who were protesting said shit like, well, we want to end the war and we want to stop the killing. And he said, well, I really don't want to do that, but I do want to play my guitar somewhere. So what do you want to do? And then the other kids came up to him and said, well, we're protesting hunger and violence and we want to stop it. And he said, well, I'm kind of used to it. So what can we do? And it was like he was 35 years old and these kids were 25 years old. So they were still hot. So he wasn't saying to them, go screw yourselves, go kill yourselves, or I'm going to rob you or anything like that. He was saying, hey, guys, calm down. Let's go for a nap in the park. At the ranch, do you remember? I don't know if you heard this story. He told the story about somebody came to him with a money problem. And he said, listen, I would let it go. Money comes and money goes. Just let it go and have a good time. And then the guy said, well, I got to meet the guy, and I'm afraid that he's going to have a gun. And then Charlie said to him, if he's got a gun, that means he's looking to hide something, and he may defend it. And you don't want to get in the crossfire. I'm telling you, man, let it go.
Charlie gave away a bus.
I want to go off on a tangent. So when you're ready, let me talk about.
Charlie gave away a bus.
Yes,
that's how kind he was at first.
Right, exactly.
He gave a kid a bus. That bus broke down, but he gave the fucking kid a bus and made all him and the girls walk.
That's exactly right.
Now, I don't know if he was just trying to show off for the girls or not.
He didn't care about money. He did not care about money. He was just above that. Rasputin was above that. This one was Hitler was a multimillionaire from sales of his book and stamps with his image on it, but he did not care about money. He wore the same suit every day of his life. No, you're right. He had a heart, and he didn't care about something like money, which is greed, which provides a motive for murder, violence, anger, jealousy, envy. Look at all the stupid, oh my God, stupid bullshit that Tex got involved in. He could have walked away from it.
Nancy makes a good point. The shit started when Linda Kasabian fucking came in the picture.
Yeah,
a lot of the shit started when Linda Kasabian came in the picture.
Diane says that the shit started when.
But that's the point I was trying to make when we were talking about Charlie, and you've just waffled over me, right? Panamint Patty said ages ago he had a way with words, right? And what this means is, right, a guy with, and we now call it antisocial personality disorder. And people who are sociopaths and psychopaths both fall underneath this thing now. What we would call it now is we would say the person has antisocial personality disorder. And the difference is a person who is a sociopath has some ability to feel empathy but can repress it, right? And a true psychopath has no capability for empathy. Right, so they have no. This is your heart, right? You call it your heart, right? They have no heart, right?
So what
Charles Manson was a psychopath, right? He had no ability to feel anyone else's feelings. He felt nothing but his own emotions. And when he saw someone else feeling sad, he was like, "Well, what's your problem? That don't affect me. You know what I mean? That's
he
what a psychopath
these
is.
girls. He
right? Yeah, right.
He
had a way with words, and right. So what a guy? No, he didn't have a word.
I disagree.
I'm going to explain it to you now. I'll explain it to you now, right? Right. And so what a psychopath does is they look at other people, they watch other people, they keenly watch other people, and they see how other people seduce women, or they do something called mirroring. Right? They mirror your own behavior back at you. Right, so they see. So Charlie, a guy like Charlie, because I was a fucking victim of guys like this for many years. We call ourselves survivors nowadays, right? You're not called a fucking victim anymore, right? Guys like this used to get me very easily when I was young as well, right? And they sit there and they'll mirror your own behavior back at you, right? So if you look at them in a loving fashion, they'll look at you like they're in love with you, right? And they'll start talking back and they'll start spouting a load of stuff that makes you feel really loved. Right, and this is what Charles Manson was doing to these women, right? And you all these girls, and there's a lot of girls it didn't work on, right? You can find accounts of girls who met him and didn't like him and ran away from him, right? But Lynette from Gypsy, Susan, the main ones, these are all the ones that fell for it, right? They fell for it. There were a lot of girls that didn't fall for Charlie, that fucking ran off and said they didn't like him,
I can agree.
But these are the mugs,
that.
right, Lynette? Right? I hate to say it to you, but I'm sorry. Squeaky, Sandy, fucking Gypsy, Susan, all of them. They're the mugs. They're the mugs that fell for Charlie, right? And so they went with Charlie because he mirrored them. He seduced them. He used psychopathic behavior to make them feel loved. They call this the gaslighting stage, right? Right, with a narcissist as well. He's a narcissist. Right, so he uses this is the gaslighting stage. He put them through this stage where he gets them alone in a room and gets them to strip naked and says you're beautiful. Because there's several of them, both Patricia Krenwinkel and Susan say that he did this to them. Right, he got them to strip naked and told them they were beautiful and he loved them.
Patricia Krenwinkel naked. Whew.
Yeah, and she was really hairy as well, wasn't she? So yeah,
I know it.
So you know what I mean?
I would have brought this along for Patricia Krenwinkel.
It's interesting to read how similar the account of what he did to Susan and what he did to Krenwinkel are. You know, when he first seduced them and took them back to the ranch. It just goes to show this guy had an MO. He had a modus operandi. He had a way that.
No, I agree with that. But
and if the girls fell for it, they went with him. Some of them didn't fall for it. Some of them fucking said, "No, you're a weirdo," and ran off.
Russ, do you think he had a heart?
Yes, I do. I do. In his own way, I do. Money didn't mean anything to him because he's never had to, in his life, stand in front of the bakery and say, do I want a bagel or roll with butter? Because the bagel is 10 cents more. He's never had to deal with any of that shit. And in addition to that, he was a prisoner. Nothing that they say that he does was fucked up, like raping Diane, is a surprise to me. Let's put it in its proper context. So he was.
And the girl at Dennis Wilson's house. There's a girl he's supposed to have sodomized in front of everyone at Dennis Wilson's house.
What was that about, Nancy? What was that about?
The French girl. This is apparently the girl was supposed to have been a money grabber, a gold digger, and she was. This is when they were at Dennis Wilson's house, so before Spahn Ranch. And the girl is supposed to have walked into the living room in front of everyone. 14-year-old French girl walked into the living room in front of everyone and said, "I'll make love to me, Charlie." And he grabbed her and he sodomized her in front of everyone and threw her out of the house. And that is actually from Charlie's mouth himself, right? You can find a quote of Charlie actually proudly telling that story himself.
It must have happened because that could incriminate him, you know.
Yeah, what did he fucking care at that point? He was in prison for life anyway. So yeah, he's going to tell all these stories now, isn't he? Yeah. And no one's ever going to find that girl and make her make a statement, are they? So they're never going to convict him for that. And at this point, he was Mad Charles Manson. He could say whatever he wanted. No one would believe him. But there's, you know what I mean?
So I think that something like that he did was just the prisoner, the same prisoner who grabbed somebody in the shower and he didn't give a shit who was looking. Just like somebody grabbed him in the shower and they didn't give a shit who was looking.
Oh, he got butt fucked a lot, Charlie did.
Yeah.
And in prison, you turn them out.
Not even in prison. He was bisexual on the ranch.
Yeah, he loved it. Yeah, he loved other men as well. Yeah, and I say loved, but no, I say he was sexually attracted to other men as well. Definitely, I believe. I don't believe he was just prison gay. I believe he was bisexual.
Lifelong prisoners, they can choose to be mean people or they can choose to be nice people. And it just came out of Charlie that he chose to be nice. But the hard ass things that he did, that's just a prisoner being a prisoner, not a man sitting next to somebody who's crying or bitching about their fathers. How many girls did you run into by the time that he met Squeaky? I bet your father just threw you out of the house. Big fucking deal. I can spot that too.
Anybody can say that shit.
Exactly. Anybody. It's no big deal. He's not some wonderful environmental genius guru.
Yeah,
that was my next point.
Psycho, mate.
That was my next point.
Millions of them walking around.
They left that ranch a fucking mess. They weren't no fucking environmentalist Atwa people. Maybe a couple of them, but they left that ranch a fucking mess. They were
cars everywhere and
Yep. They wouldn't be burning diesel. They wouldn't be burning diesel. They wouldn't be burning diesel in the desert.
Yeah, they banned a lot of fucking petrol and diesel, didn't they? Yeah, for caring about the environment.
I saw Cappy do an interview one time, and as you know, you've watched your own interviews of Cappy. She was a very good-natured,
nice
universally loved person. She's just a wonderful person. And the bad things that she did was because she was an addict and she was hardened over time, but she was a very sweet, loving soul. So one time she was telling a story about the time that they were in the desert and they couldn't do something. So out of anger, they found one of the government-owned earth-moving vehicles. I don't know what it's called. And so she said, yeah, well, we tried to burn it, but we couldn't because it's made of metal. And she just stopped.
And would know the name of those things.
her comic timing was just absolutely perfect.
And would know the name of that thing.
You know, I'll give you another thing as far as a heart. Did you hear the stories about Charlie beating up women? Oh, you just said one, Mike.
He did.
All right.
You know, Mary Bruner had 2 black eyes and she sat hidden in a room for days.
Right.
I believe it. I believe it. I do.
Okay.
I believe it.
Now, I've got another take on
and
one
psychological
story.
abuse as well. There was a lot of psychological abuse that went on.
And I'm not just saying that because I read it in Sadie's book. And that's where I read it first, was Susan's
There was
book.
a story that everybody heard about one time Charlie beat up Squeaky in the kitchen. Now, Mike told me the real story of beating up Squeaky in the kitchen. And here's how it went. Somehow, they were all hanging out in the kitchen. And that was the day that Squeaky was wearing a white blouse and white jeans. Now, you guys got to sit square.
Why would you wear that? Spawn Ranch.
Yeah, at Spawn Ranch.
Filthy, dusty place. Why would you walk around wearing all white?
Because a girl does shit like that. My sister went to New Year's Eve at Times Square in a yellow gown. Give me a break. So they're sitting in the kitchen, and Mike Bruner, as a baby, he starts crawling towards the table because he sees the chocolate.
With the hands on her white? Yeah.
Exactly.
That's in her book.
So she kicked him.
He puts his
I've heard
hand
this.
in the chocolate.
You know that, Nancy? That story?
Yeah, but no, they say that was good-natured and he didn't really beat her up. I thought you was going to say kick the shit out of Squeaky.
No, not at all.
Blood went all over it, but no.
So the baby took the chocolate.
It was just she tapped the baby on the butt, and so he kicked her in the butt and said, "How do you feel?" Is that story?
She foot maneuvered him back, so she was watching him out of the corner of her eye. She just foot maneuvered him.
She's not kicking the baby; it's just stopping the baby touching your white clothing. So she didn't really
maneuvered him to sway him away, which I do to my children all the time, and everybody does it. So the baby fell backward on its butt, and then Charlie was standing there, and he probably had some chocolate on his finger too, and he just nudged her elbow, and he said, "How do you like it?" Something like
that's
that.
Not beating a woman up, is it? Come on, I thought you was going to tell us he really kicked the crap out of her.
No.
You know what Paul Watkins said? You know what Paul Watkins said? That Sadie pissed in the salad dressing one time, and Charlie was eating it, and this was in a movie. Boy, Sadie, this tastes awful weird. Yeah, it's because I pissed in it. And he fucking got up from the table and grabbed her by the throat, slammed her down on the ground, and beat the tar out of her, and then fucked her in front of everybody. That's what Watkins says.
Yeah.
Now, you don't know what Watkins. He's kind of
totally normal behavior. Yeah.
Why would he lie about that? I mean, things like that. Why would he lie? How do you even develop a lie like that? Like,
that shows he was capable of great rage, doesn't it? Yeah. And against women as well.
That's totally something that Sadie would do. That's completely something.
No, but the other thing that shows you about Charles Manson is he'd start on a woman. He'd do that to a woman, and I can show you this in some of his prison interviews as well. There's fucking every prison interview I've ever seen him do, he's sat in the room with the man, right? He's never behind glass. The only interview he's ever behind glass is when he's being interviewed by a woman.
Diane Sawyer.
Israeli girl?
It wasn't Diane Sawyer. No, the French woman.
No,
there was no glass in between Diane Sawyer and him.
No, the French woman. There's French woman. There's glass between him and the French woman. I'll show you.
Oh, he got mean with her. He got ornery.
He did. He said to her, "If I could get to you, I'd slap you," and all this.
Well, he put an act on in these interviews.
Well, Diane Sawyer's a famous woman as well, yeah. So they know he's not going to fly at Diane Sawyer. You know what I mean? But when he was being interviewed by a journalist who was not well known,
I know her.
There was glass between him and the woman, right? They would not let him sit with just an unknown woman because they knew what he'd fucking do to her.
Well, I know that interview, and her name escapes me, but I just happened to be talking about her today with somebody, and it's only a short interview, and it's a shitty interview because it's all cut up. But he's behind glass with Diane Sawyer. He's in chains and manacles, so he couldn't have attacked her if he wanted.
So he was in restraints.
I'm a rebel woman.
He was in restraints. Yes, because you see him being interviewed by men, and he's in no restraints. Teacher. So they had him in restraints when he was being interviewed by Diane Sawyer. Yeah. That's it.
I ain't no Sunday school teacher. I'm a rebel woman.
Yeah, and he sits there, he calls her a woman, and he had a bad attitude to women, right? He was he was a higher violence risk to women than he was to men. That's
the Tom Snyder, the best Charlie Manson interview is when Tom Snyder fucking got to him. Tom Snyder in 81 fucking got him unraveled. He did. You agree, Russ? Did you see that one?
Yeah, that was the first.
Fucking Snyder, that was the best.
And Snyder was sitting there with this fucking obnoxious, talking, and
doesn't matter. He got to him. He got to him.
And Charlie was trying to talk to him. I understood every word that Charlie was saying and what he was referring to. And Snyder just kept on going and reading a script. And Charlie at that point was like, "Holy shit.
You got the wrong interview, Russ. He was out in the open, Snyder. He wasn't reading shit."
You're thinking
of the one where he's sitting across the table from the guy and he's got the book in front of him.
No.
Is that the one you're thinking of?
No, I am thinking of when Charlie was sitting on the high stool.
Oh, you're right. That's with Snyder with the high stool. Right.
And Snyder was just, I don't know, reading the company line or towing the company line or something like that.
I kind of thought he freelanced a little bit though, man. I thought he was freelancing a little bit. I got to take a piss. I'll be right back.
I remember.
I need to as well, actually.
Do you need to take a break, Nancy?
Yeah, well, I'll sit and talk to you till Mike gets back. Yeah.
Okay, good.
But it's interesting to get this because the subject of his interviews, there's a lot of weird interviews with Charles Manson. There's one, Delinda posted it just the other day in our group, and it's a very short clip of an interview.
Right.
But the way he's walked into it and the way the whole interview goes down and he's sat on a chair backwards and all that, and he looks like a movie star. It's just so weird. You can see why there's conspiracy theories about this all being some kind of weird staged act, because there's a lot of these Charles Manson interviews while he's in prison. When he comes out, when they fucking roll him out of his cell to be interviewed, the different ways he acts when he's being interviewed by different people is interesting.
Well,
and this is why I think Charlie was engaged in this conspiracy as well, right? Because Charlie, you have to understand, was a man who was institutionalized. He didn't like living on the outside. And this whole stranger in a strange land thing as well, that Tom O'Neill brings up in Chaos, this book, Stranger in a Strange Land. You've got to read this weird science fiction book that Charles Manson is supposed to have read around the time he was at Haight-Ashbury. And it's all very strange, right? But there's a lot of things about the way Charles Manson behaves when he's being interviewed in prison afterwards, and the way he behaves as he's going into the trial, and that is. What you have to know about Charles Manson is he was a man who preferred to live in prison, unfortunately, because of the way he
begged to not be released.
He wanted to go back. Yeah, he didn't want to be released. And there are loads of times before these murders happened when he could have been sent back to prison, but they didn't, because his probation officer was this weird dude called A. Smith.
Say it, Nancy. I love the way you say that one name. Yeah. You say it 100 times a week. Jolly.
Dr. Jolly on West,
Jolly on West.
Dr. Jolly on West, was connected to
Sam Smith,
but he's not really connected to this case. But I'd love to talk about him for many reasons.
I know you do, because
it's a very tenuous connection, so I don't want to go on about it. But and we'll do it one day. We'll do a whole CIA stream, and I'll tell you all the shit about Jolly on West. But.
Sam Smith brings up another good point, which makes
see what he says
tonight. He says, so if it was a drug burn, how come Manson never claimed that? Now, I would like to get into this.
Oh, good question,
Manson just denied everything. Manson just said, I didn't do nothing wrong.
Sam, the man.
He wouldn't snitch on no one. He wouldn't say nothing to no one about nothing. That's
okay.
Charles Manson.
The interesting thing about this, not even any deathbed confessions. Now, Susan wrote an unpublished book called something like The Myth of Helter Skelter, something like that.
One of her husbands has got to have it and can publish it now.
I have it.
I'm dying to see that. Have you got it, Mike? Have you got it?
The Myth of Helter Skelter. It's not all that different than.
It's no big deal.
Child of Satan, child of God. It's not all that. You know what that book is? All she does is bash Charlie.
Because of the code. Why did Charles Manson never confirm anything?
The code, Panama Patty.
Because of the criminal code. Because then he'd be a snitch. And that was just the code by which he lived by. He wouldn't tell no one nothing.
So that's the whole point. But the thing is, it not only goes to Charlie.
About anyone.
Susan didn't say anything. The others didn't say anything. Nobody says anything. Tex won't say anything. And I think somehow, I was listening to Sanders recently, Neil Sanders.
Because they don't want to get shanked in prison. They want to stay alive in prison, right?
And if they go garden. Good point, Nancy. Ross, she just made a good point.
Stabbed up in the showers, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? It's like, they're just trying to survive.
Something holds them all back from just telling the truth as to what it was about. And part of it is they still want to get out on parole, so they have to agree with the guilty verdict. But the other thing is, I think that there's something overhanging them, some like mob conspiracy that they think it's going to affect them and their children for the rest of their lives, and that's why they
Sam,
hold the secret.
You haven't looked into Nicholas Schreck's research, have you? Right? No, he did have long conversations with Nicholas Schreck. This dude, right? He does pretty much confirm when he's talking just to friends, when it's not legal, like when he's not talking to a lawyer. And Nicholas Schreck's book still hasn't been shipped yet. We've all pre-ordered it. And I will talk about Nicholas Schreck's book as much as I fucking possibly can when it finally arrives. I went to his event when he came to London and everything, and we're all waiting on tenterhooks for the 3rd edition of the Manson file to be published.
This is ridiculous.
But no, he did talk
I'm not
about
waiting
it.
for him anymore.
Nick,
I don't care anymore.
He
Russ,
did
are you
talk
back
about
in
it
his
to
group?
some people,
Are you back
Sam.
in
He
his
just
group,
didn't
Russ?
legally talk
Russ,
about
tell
it.
me,
He wouldn't
tell me
legally
about,
talk about it.
hold on.
Pardon me,
Tell me
sorry.
about the fight. Tell me about the fight you and Nicholas had.
Can't help it. I keep burping.
Terrible.
I want to hear this, Nancy. Watch this. Tell me about the fight you had over Nancy in Nicholas's group.
Yeah, exactly. Nancy was posting stuff just like Sam.
I was posting the files. It was when I was posting the files.
I want to hear this.
Nancy posted stuff that just fucking came out of nowhere, and she just exploded like in 1 week or two. So I just said, I begged her to come to our page and just start posting there as well. I didn't think anything of it because who gives a fuck? And then Nicholas sent me a page, or that chick Andrea or something like that.
No, he commented. I'm sure he commented. I'm sure it was actually a comment, a public comment. He said, "You're stealing other people's research."
Stay out of other people's research and stay out of the. And I said, "Hey, pal. Hey, Baldy."
Yeah.
Instead of calling the one-ear wonder.
Exactly. I never heard of you until everybody considers me smart. I never fucking heard of you until I got here, and that was a year of being in here. What do you?
You don't know. You have no idea who you're talking to as well. This is like the fucking
and there was
king
another
of
guy
Charles
who
Manson
told me
research.
that
You just walked up to him and went, "Fuck you."
Nicholas claimed that he did all of his Romanoff research when he clearly got it from me. But I'm like, who gives a fuck, man? It's history.
You're cracking me up.
Everybody, every historian, us, they take
this is the thing with
from other people.
The Manson community, man. Honestly, the Jack the Ripper community, the British Jack the Ripper community.
Let's do Jack the Ripper
similar,
next,
actually.
Nancy, let's do Jack the Ripper next.
No, because Panamint Patty brought this up on the podcast last night.
I kept on doing it, and
the true crime community. She said she's never seen so much infighting in a true crime community.
Oh, it's so fucking.
Yeah, she's right. She's right. Everybody wants to be the authority.
The Jack the Ripper community gets similar, but it's different because the Jack the Ripper case is much different. And obviously there's no psychedelia involved, so they're not cool hippie people. They're like middle-class old Englishmen, basically. So imagine this community, but with... And also Jack the Ripper, the case is different because it was never solved. So there's no official... No one really knows
this
who Jack the
officially
Ripper
hasn't
was.
been solved either.
Yeah, well, people got sent to prison, and I do believe they sent the right people to prison, but just for the wrong reason, if you get what I mean. They did
Tana Laufenberg.
Yeah, but they did get the murderers. They got the actual murderers, but they didn't get them for the right reason, is my contention in this case. Jack the Ripper, they never actually caught Jack the Ripper, so no one will ever really know who Jack the Ripper was.
I don't even know who he is.
And there's loads of difference. Jack the Ripper was the guy in London who committed a bunch of really fucked up murders where he killed prostitutes and cut their wombs out. That's the most disturbing thing about the Jack the Ripper case. He killed prostitutes and he cut their wombs out and he took their wombs. He kept their wombs as souvenirs. And he killed about 5 women, I think.
The wind up to my story is that Nancy this week pointed out to me that I'm still on Nicholas's page. I'm still on there.
So he's let you back. He's let you back. He's watching this.
And what did I say to you? I said to you, who gives a fuck? What are you having for dinner?
No, you should see that as an olive branch. He's saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, man."
Fuck that. Who cares?
No,
Nancy loves Shrek.
because it's so silly. We should all love each other. We're all researching the same thing in the end, aren't we?
Why don't we just let Brian Davis in here too?
Yeah, invite Brian in. We'll fucking
loser.
I'd like to teach the world to sing and furnish it with love.
Let's let fucking Stoner. Let's let Stoner back in.
At least
Brian
we
Davis
cannot tell each other to fuck off.
All those fuckwads. Sorry, Patty.
Come on, man. This is why I want to build bridges in the Manson community, guys. Come on.
Jesus. No, listen.
I want to interview Nicholas one day on here, so we've got to get serious
get
about
him as
this.
a guest.
I will. I'll get one as a guest.
I got no problem with Nicholas.
He probably doesn't drink now because he's a Buddhist, so
he got mad at me. He got mad at me.
Buddhist.
Nicholas did. He got mad.
So 20 years ago he was a Nazi, and now he's a Buddhist. I take him seriously.
No, he wasn't a Nazi. That was performance art. Though he'll never admit that because he's really committed to his performance art. But no, he was a character.
I asked him to prove.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. I find the guy fascinating. I really do.
The only reason I watch Xena Shrek is because I want to see that one bikini photo of Xena Shrek. That's it. I had it out with a fucking son too.
Have you not seen the pictures of her dressed as the hot nun with the Radio Werewolf, man? No, that was quite pleasant.
No, but
and the Nazi stuff.
He's got a gown.
Because no, Nicholas, one of the things he did admit to me was that he's got a nun fetish. The very short time that I spoke to him, right? Because we were sat in the bar after the talk. We sat down at the bar, and we were very near Covent Garden.
Did he make a move on you?
No, he didn't. He didn't at all. That so I was gutted. I was like, oh man, what? He didn't even. No. We were sat talking because I'm British, so I'm ever so polite. You know what I mean?
Egghead.
I don't make a move.
You remind me of Egghead from Batman, right?
But no. Listen to this. Listen to this story. You love this. We were sat and the place where we were was just around the corner from Covent Garden, which is like a really fucking.
Oh yeah, I go there all the time. Yeah, I know where it is.
Yeah, right. And he was sat there, and he said to me, and he was talking about Covent Garden, and he went Convent Garden, and I laughed at him, and I went, "Oh, you can't have lived in London. You can't have been in London very long if you would call it Convent Garden. So it's Covent Garden." And he said, "Oh no, sorry, that's just my nun fetish coming out." And if you look at Radio Werewolf, right, the character that Xena played was a hot nun. She had a wimpole on, but she also had a short leather skirt and long Nazi jack boots and a whip. And if you like pictures of Xena, I shouldn't encourage you to. But no, Xena obviously enjoys that, or she wouldn't have had these pictures.
He got pissed at me. He got pissed at me because I asked him.
She was a hot nun. That was her character in Radio Werewolf. Yeah, I think she did.
He got pissed at me because I asked him to verify that Susan fucked Jay Seaburn. He couldn't.
She sucked his dick. She didn't fuck him.
I don't know what the fuck she did, but all I asked him to do
is, how do you know this? Sucking his dick.
How do you know this, Nick? Well, you can only just take it at face value, but why? Because Charlie told you that?
This is what people told us shit about.
Because Charlie told you that, Nick? Is that why? Because Charlie told you that, Nick? He's just another one that just fucking listens to Charlie.
But this is because there's meant to be a tape. These weird porn tapes that Polanski is supposed to have had in his house.
I believe it. I believe that she sucked his dick.
Which is another reason why there was such a huge cover-up, was because when the police searched that house after the event, they found all these tapes in the attic that were of famous people doing shit they shouldn't have been doing, basically. And some of it was like gross stuff as well. You know, it was like stuff involving animals, and it was stuff involving rape, and it was stuff involving children, and it was really nasty stuff.
We need to cut this part of the YouTube.
The rumor stuff. Well, no, I'm not describing graphically what went on.
But I know, but just be careful. Just be careful.
But no, I'm just saying, and this is a rumor as well for legal reasons. We have to say there's no fucking physical evidence that we can show that this really went down. But that is probably another reason why they're covering up so much about this case. And private detectives, it's the testimony of a private detective that we have to go by, that these tapes existed. And this is probably a guy that was hired by Paul Tate as well. Panamint Patty. Did Paul Tate ever say anything like that on his blog? Because she was saying, I didn't even realise Paul Tate maintained a blog. So I've got to talk to you privately, because that's really interesting. Because Paul Tate himself, Sharon Tate's father, was military intelligence, and he investigated all this himself. And he believed that it was to do with drugs. And I believe that he must have also found out about these tapes, because Sharon was on some of these tapes, and it was unpleasant. It wasn't consenting stuff she was doing. It was unpleasant.
You think they had a bad marriage?
Yeah.
You think they had a shitty marriage?
Definitely. There's also a rumor that he took videos of underage girls in their swimming pool and then forced Sharon Tate to watch these videos. And that's from a book that one of our friends wrote, I believe, that comes from. But there's lots of weird rumors about, because Roman Polanski was a filmmaker, did have the equipment to make these films and edit them. And the stuff to watch it on, you would have to have a rig like a editor had in them days. And Dennis Wilson is supposed to have had a rig that could have played these films in his house. So this is what I think a lot of this stuff on the text tapes actually is.
I believe it.
Sorry, no, I got that wrong. Colonel Scott, not Tate. When you said Colonel Scott, I assumed you were referring to Tate. Yeah, to Colonel Tate, but no, she's not Tate that did the blog.
Colonel Scott's a user on her blog. That's not actually
right.
Tate's
No, yeah,
daddy.
no. Just when I heard Colonel, I assumed that she meant Tate himself, but no, she's talking about she was talking about something else. That's just a username. Sorry, yeah. But no, Paul Tate, the father of Sharon Tate, is supposed to have done his own investigation. He was military intelligence, could have got his own investigators. And they are, the private investigator is supposed to have found evidence the police were trying to sell these tapes. That's where this reference to the weird tapes comes from. And they were in the attic. And there's some weird shit mentioned in Helter Skelter where when they're questioning the housekeeper, there's a hole in the closet. And she says, something's gone from here. Because the police report all says nothing's gone. Right? But the housekeeper would not have known what film equipment looked like and what was gone exactly. And so all she said was there was some kind of camera or something in here. And that is not here anymore. Right? So she wouldn't have known what she was describing. But she could have been describing cylinders of tape. Or a camera, but so whoever went back to clean up, there was a closet in the hallway that had a camera, what sounds like a camera, and probably some reels of film in it. And she said something's gone from here. There was stuff in here before there was a camera or something, but she didn't know what she was describing. She was just the maid, you know what I mean? But I reckon that there was something in the hall closet that got taken by whoever went back. And the police are supposed to have found a load of tapes in the attic, and this is what they were trying to sell.
You believe that? I mean, do you believe that okay, so what did the morning that they discovered the bodies, did they get those fucking tapes out of there quick? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I think
did they rush right up there and get all that shit out of there?
The people that went back there, because I truly believe.
You don't think the law got it? You think the people that went up?
No, yeah, I truly believe that Mama Cass happened to turn up there just after the murders and was lucky to have not been caught up in it, and she happened to see the crime scene, and she went and informed the subculture, the counterculture, right? So she went and said, "Shit, everyone in Shallow Drives has been murdered, man." And so everyone in Hollywood is then going to have been notified, shit, they're dead, right? We've got to go and get out these tapes of us because there's meant to have been Steve McQueen, Peter Sellers as well. And there's an interesting thing about Peter Sellers.
I laugh when I hear that.
Yeah, no, because the tape of Mama Cass is meant to be Mama Cass and Peter Sellers.
Whoa.
And Peter Sellers, I've got
to look up. Inside that?
I've got to look up exactly when this happened, but Peter Sellers made a suicide attempt at some point. And if it happened in 1969, around this time, then that's cool. Because Peter Sellers must have just heard, holy shit, they've busted the Cielo Drive house. They're all dead. They're going to find the tape of me and Steve McQueen doing stuff.
Steve McQueen thought he was the man. He thought he was the fucking man.
Well, that's the thing, because the attitude to homosexuality then was not the same, was it? I mean, nowadays, if you heard that two actors did something with each other on a video, you just go.
It's going to be on fucking. It's going to be on TMZ.
Yeah, it'll be on Pornhub before long. Yeah, that's it. It doesn't matter. But back then, just if Peter Sellers and Steve McQueen, it had even come out that they were bisexual and did stuff with each other, would have ruined their careers. And Peter Sellers was a British national treasure. Peter Sellers was. He was like, you know what I mean? He was like a big, definitely never any indication he was at all gay, you know what I mean? He was a straight man, and he was very funny. He was a comedian, but he was also a serious actor. He was a very serious actor, you know what I mean? And so, like, if Peter Sellers and Steve McQueen, it had come out that there was a video of him and Mama Cass. And
who got tied to the tree?
And he's also doing stuff to Steve McQueen, and Steve McQueen's doing stuff to him. It'd be like,
Nancy, who got tied to the tree while at Mama Cass's house while she was in the hospital?
Shit, I'd have to look it up. That's in Chaos.
Patty, if you're listening, who got tied?
I've heard it was Pick Dawson.
Yeah, Pick Dawson.
Yeah, but there's a dude who's supposed to have been.
Did he get butt fucked Is that why
Yes,
you're so mad? Did Frykowski butt fuck him?
What it says in Chaos is different as well. It says that they drugged him at the house, and so he was all drugged up and unable to resist, and that is where they did the butt fucking. And then his friend saw him on the ground and said when he wakes up and realizes what has happened, he's going to kill people. So his friend took him and tied him to a tree, and that's how he ended up tied to the tree. And he woke up tied to the tree so he wouldn't go back and kill the people that had just done it to him. But the other version is he was taken out and tied to the tree, and that is where he was butt fucked. But he was butt fucked in front of a whole group of Hollywood people, whoever it was. I think it was Pick Dawson.
I think they did a lot of that shit.
Billy Doyle. No, yeah, I thought, yeah, I knew the name wasn't Pick Dawson. Billy Doyle.
Billy Doyle, that's right.
Billy Doyle, and it was to do with drugs. It was all to do with the drugs. And it was Joe Sebring and Frykowski were supposed to have been involved in that situation. And we know that Joe Sebring liked to tie people up. That's recorded in the police fucking report as well. I didn't actually mention that.
I'd have been a horrible fit with these people back then.
So yeah, maybe Joe Sebring would have strapped him up, and then Frykowski would have got on with the business.
Look at Russ. Look at Russ. Russ is sleeping. Wake up, Russ!
Folks, I've got to make 2 other appearances tonight, and one of them has to do with men's lingerie.
Oh Jesus! I'm getting the water on that.
I have to bid you adieu.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
It's been 3 good hours, so I'm going to say good night to everybody right now.
Yeah, shit, we have gone on way too long. No one's going to watch this on playback, are they? I will probably leave all of this up, though.
But anyway, I'm going to bid you all good night, and Nancy's going to let us know when she does the second half of this specific drug burn, and that will consider blood splatters and why there was blood here.
Yeah, all the blood splatter and who was where and who actually died where and why.
Exactly. So, everybody, as we always used to do, let's have a toast to one of the victims. Mike, I'll let you take it. Who are we toasting tonight?
Which one?
Gary Hinman.
Gary Hinman.
Let's have a toast to Gary Hinman, because you know what? I think he was the most innocent person.
Yeah, I think he was the one that probably.
He was a chemist. He was a chemist, and he did not fuck that batch up.
Yeah, I reckon the mescaline was probably good. The guys.
Here's to you, Gary Hinman.
Poor Gary Hinman.
Okay, so we're all going to talk tomorrow, and we're going to have more meetings during the week. We're getting better and better every week.
Nancy, you staying on?
Yeah, I'll stay on when the broadcast ends. Will be in the room.
Good night, all.
See you later.
Good night, Russ. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.